Zero Limits listeners, on today's Zero Limits podcast, I am joined in the studio once again by a 29-year former police officer of New South Wales. Now, again, we've spoken in the past to many police officers from Lint Cafe through to Jughead, arresting bikies, through to a lot of other different stories, which has been absolutely amazing. Like Craig Semple, for example. What do they call them? Detectives? What do they call them? Defectives.
Defectives,
that's it.
Yeah. He's a published writer.
Yeah, published defective.
And a great book.
Great book. Great book.
Excellent.
And great
Excellent
bloke.
Great bloke.
But
his brother's loose.
yeah, Jason, shout out, mate, shout out. The gorilla of the family. Yeah. But as I spoke about, 29 years in the police force. Now, during these 29 years, he was involved in an incident up in Grafton, which was they call it a suicide by police. So where an offender, obviously gets jacked up on whatever they're on and basically wants to end their life, and rather than do it themselves, they, obviously put the burden on someone else to do it, which obviously is New South Wales Police because he's got the firearms. Now, this guy that we've got on, he was the guy behind the trigger that day that put this guy down. I shouldn't say put this guy down, but shot this guy, and subsequently this guy did pass away from the incident, which we'll definitely touch on. But Dallas Leven, mate, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Nice to see you in person.
Yeah, mate, yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah, mate. Obviously, there's a mutual police officer out there, current serving, that's passed on your details and said, must get you on.
Yeah, and he experienced a very, very similar thing to what I did. So we've got that connection as well, but we won't give him any raps.
Yeah, mate. And, yep. When I was told about you, there's a few other guys that told me about you. They're like, you got to get this guy on. There was a couple of people on Instagram that reached out and said, get this Dallas Leven on. Get him on. He's got a good story.
Okay.
And it's not just because of the shooting. You know, post this shooting, you kind of went into a downward spiral of PTSD, getting divorced, going homeless, far out, and almost fucking necking up yourself.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say it like that.
No, that's how we talk. That's how we should talk.
Yeah.
It's been an incredible ride. The last 5-6 years have been absolutely horrendous, but also so good. Like, to be through it, and where I am today, I'm happy to have my story recorded once and for all, sort of, and to hopefully show other people that are struggling that there's light at the end of the tunnel and life is good.
That's it, especially cops, mate. As we spoke, we just went to the coffee shop and had a little chat on the way and spoke about there was a police officer last week that actually committed suicide, a young probationary constable. Yeah,
it's tragic. It's and the New South Wales Police do a much better job now with identifying and supporting people that are suffering compared to when I joined. It was very, very dim. There was zero support, but it's sad that people are still get into such a hole that's an option. I understand it. I didn't used to, but I understand it very well now. Yeah,
and we'll definitely touch on it down the track. You know, said you spent 29 years within the police force, so you would have seen the changes, going from getting beaten pretty much at the academy through to, multiple different toilets you can use now type thing. So
exactly. It doesn't resemble in any way, apart from the camaraderie. The camaraderie is still there to a degree, from what I can see. I'm out now. But I joined at that stage where it was really just starting to change. The police started to become a bit more modern, and we used computer systems rather than typewriters, but I still did that old way. And as for mental health support, it was non-existent, zero, and nobody talked about struggling.
No.
That I remember.
No, because you just get booted.
You just get booted. Everyone just got on the piss. Yeah. And that was how.
That's it, yeah.
Which is a very effective way to do it, but it mightn't be healthy after 30 years.
Yeah, right, mate. Mate, before we crack on with your extensive career, mate, let's get back right to the start. Give us a quick rundown on, life growing up, where you grew up, schooling, siblings.
I was born in Leeton, down in the Riverina, in I'm 50 at the end of the month. So 50 years ago, So
half a century.
My old man was a very, very proud police officer. He was a sergeant. As a result, back then the police got moved a lot, and so we moved a lot. His father, my grandfather, Raven, he was a policeman as well. He was a sergeant. So I was the third generation, and my older brother was a police officer as well. So it sort of grew up as in your DNA. You didn't really know much else, but we moved from Leeton, and then we moved to on the far north coast of New South Wales. My dad worked at places like Woodburn and Broadwater, little country towns where he was the lockup keeper, and we lived in the police residences which were attached to the police stations. So you have that different upbringing.
Yeah, right.
You know, mum feeding prisoners. You know, she used to get an allowance to feed
Different
prisoners.
time, isn't it?
Yeah, just crazy. But
Not feeding them left hooks and right hooks.
no, there wasn't. That. I think the crooks used to like coming because they knew mum was an all right
Oh yeah.
cook, so they'd get a good feed when they were in the overnight stay. But so my grandfather was a very proud policeman, my dad very proud policeman, and we moved around a lot. So I did my schooling in at north coast of New South Wales, and then we moved to the Central Coast. Went to school at Wombrel and Terrigal High School, and then close to here, Rutherford. I finished my high school at Rutherford. I wasn't a very good student. My HSC was the first year that it had changed from the mark out of 500 to 100.
Yep.
And I got 19. So
19?
Yeah, 19, which is less than 15. They didn't even post it. They just said less than 15, but I got 19.
Was a pencil broken or something?
Oh, my old man was real happy, you can imagine. So I had to go. I went to Tech. I went back to Tech and I did a course which allowed me to get enough. University never interested me. So I could get enough marks to apply for the police, which I did, and I got in. And I started as a 20-year-old. Yeah, I got accepted as a 20-year-old, and I started down at the academy in 1993.
Yeah, mate, before we crack on with that, back to the growing up side of things, especially growing up here, especially Central Coast.
Yep.
And up here in Rutherford, mate, it's quite a different area to where you grew up initially.
Yeah.
A bit more
like
civilised, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Those small towns up the North Coast were tiny little places back in the 70s and the 80s, but the Central Coast was always busy. It was always like an arm of Sydney, but it was great. I had an older brother and I had a younger brother, so it was the three boys, mum and dad. We never had much. We can very, very simple life. You don't know anything else. You don't really compare your life to others, but looking back on it, it was I had a lot of happy memories with my brother. It was
Younger brother?
The older brother.
Older brother,
we're very close.
What's the age gap between you guys?
2 years. My older brother's 2 years older than me. My younger brother's 2 years younger. So that's that. And I had normal interests as a kid. I love sport. And, I was never any good at much, but I love watching cricket and I love playing cricket and I love football, rugby league. I'm a rugby league tragic, but I think I had a relatively normal upbringing to a degree, but I was more than happy. I had part-time jobs and I was focused on joining the police, and that was pretty much what I knew I'd do.
What year did that creep into your mind?
Probably when I was in my teens.
Yeah.
In my teens. It was something that it dawned on me that every place I'd ever lived in, there had always been a police radio playing so the old man could hear. I've been listening to that police radio for like 49 years, like a long time I've been listening to, it's like white noise of the police radio going everywhere you were.
So police radio in your house?
Yeah, Dad used to have a police radio in the house.
When you could?
Well, he had to because it was the lockup keeper's residence.
Oh, I guess, there you go. That's right, yeah.
It was mad, like listening to a little kid running around. Dad would say, oh, shush, there's a job going over the radio, so you had to be quiet. And just crazy times. It was very, very different. But as soon as I could, I applied, and then my life just torpedoed from there. I just went and really found what suited me and what I was suited to. Yeah,
right. And so you joined 1993. Mm-hmm. How long is this after school?
About a year and a bit.
And what did you do in that gap?
I studied so I could get that mark that I required. And I also I was a milkman for a little while. Yeah, right. Like I did deliveries to shops and to homes in the Hunter Valley, not far from here, in the Maitland, Branxton sort of area. Yeah, and it was good way to keep fit, and I really concentrated on getting fit.
Yeah.
I think in my head I thought I was joining the army and I had to be super fit, but the physical requirements weren't as bad as I thought they were, but it was still. Yeah.
So you're getting fit and So
ready.
you might have more kids out there. The typical milkman.
Well, that was the rumour, but the funny thing was, it's completely opposite. Women would see you driving in, but because they owed money for milk, they'd run inside, so they'd avoid you because they didn't want to pay for the milk.
And this is the good old days.
The old days.
Where they put the crate on the door.
And the money was left out the front.
Left under the mat, yeah.
And that's how you come in and they'd run.
Far out, that's just jogged my memory. I remember that, leaving money under the...
under the mat.
Under the mat and wake up in the morning, there'd be a jug of bloody...
Jug of milk, yeah. So, no, I didn't have too many offers. From a long time ago, I can't remember.
Yeah. Mate, as you said, you were doing a bit of tech school, which is pretty much TAFE these days.
Yeah.
To get your grades up.
Yep.
What were the standards for the cops? Do you remember?
I don't. I think for the HSC it was somewhere around 70, 68 you were required. And I ended up getting 70% in the course that I did. It goes it's all about applying yourself. It was, I went to school to socialise and to have fun. But when I wasn't the best learner. So I had to try hard, but 70% was enough. And university was never an option. I never really liked the idea of studying.
Yeah, which I guess was crazy back then because you didn't really have to be successful in school to find a job or do something. No. Whereas these days it's all about finishing year 12, year 11, year 12, and then
launching into something else. Yeah,
launching into something else, and you need it to get a job really, or go to university or college or whatever.
Well, my brothers were the same. Like it was in my family, it was never mentioned. It was just known that it wasn't like you weren't allowed to. It just we weren't going to be going to uni.
Yeah,
and I had friends that went to uni, and it sounds like I missed out on some action, but. I like being the 20-year-old in the police. It was great.
That's cool.
Awesome.
So, in regards to this joining up, what's the process? Are you rocking up to a police station and say, "Hey, mate, do I want to apply for the cops?" Well, your dad probably.
We had forms. I know we had to have forms, and back in those days, they'd have the local police come out and interview your neighbours to make sure you hadn't knocked over the neighbour's letterbox all your life, or you were some sort of shit kid. And there was some process. You had to have references. I remember that. And the process was pretty easy after. And then you go down, you do a psych test and the physical aspects of it. And the next minute, I went through the academy and in a time when they weren't recruiting. My class was actually the smallest class up until that point. It was 85 of us, half female, half male. And we didn't have a senior class. So we had the whole academy to ourselves, 85 of us.
Oh, shit.
It was really good. So you really...
The training was concentrated.
It was concentrated, but that forming those bonds with those 84 other people in my class, and some will hear this and it'll be really cool because the bond that we had, only those 85 know what that was like. And that's like any section, I suppose, or anything that you do. But it was those 6 months training at the academy were nearly the best 6 months of my life.
And when you got to the academy, did any instructors know your old boy?
No, not that I remember, no.
Were you identified as a police brat, I suppose?
No, there was a couple of blokes and girls in my class that come from policing families too. But yeah, no, it was never, from memory, a long time ago, and my memory's short now. Yeah. But no, it was never a problem. There was one point when I come out and did part of my training was in the field, and it was here at Maitland. And my old man was working at Singleton, I think, at the time. And my older brother was working as well. And I thought all three of us were on duty the same
That's
day.
Pretty cool.
And I remember my mum said to me once, she remembered once that her husband, my dad, was on night work at Singleton. I was on night work at Maroubra, and my older brother was on night work at Burke. And she said she had all her loved ones spread out across the state on night. Yeah, so when you think back at that, that's pretty unique, I think.
It is.
Like, pretty rare.
It is, mate, it is.
And it must have been stressful for her. My mum was...
It's a very Save It Private Ryan type shit, you know? Like
in reality, all three of us might have been having a sleep all night, but it mightn't have been dangerous, but it might have been. I don't know. But it must have been, I think my mum's a timid, very sensitive lady, and she was, she would have been really hard to
grasp
the fact that all the people, the 3 men in your life are all out in the police, but working nights all around the state. But there are other families that do it too, I guess.
Yeah, plenty of. Now back to the academy, mate. Run me through this. Now, how long was it back then?
6 months. It was a 6-month process where you different to today. I don't know how they do it today, but back then it was a 6-month process with
paid process too.
Paid. That's what I was getting at. That's so important because it allowed blokes that needed to provide for their family to still join, and that ensured that you'd get people with great life experiences, which is essential for the cops, you know. And so I was lucky enough to get paid to train. So I trained for 5 months there, and there was a month back in the field where you were a student police officer, they called it. You sort of went around with the guys and learnt. And it was great. It was good because it was a component of the classroom stuff, and then the physical stuff. It was great. It was just the relationships I built there are still as strong as they've ever been, and they always will be. And I'm really, really, really lucky to have that.
Yeah. Now, as we know, mate, back early 90s, again, referring to other potties that I've done with Juggy and Matthew Bryan and all those type of guys, Mitch Parker, they all joined, you know, that similar period where the police force was almost like a paramilitary in the way they did their training. It was very structured, and again, going back to the 90s, you know, gender issues were no problem.
No.
Political correctness was, you know,
unheard of.
Yeah, exactly, unheard of.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
How was the training like in regards to that?
It was appropriate for the day. You didn't know any different, but to be screamed at and yelled at and forced to really push your boundaries, that's what I expected, and that's what I was sort of hoping for. But it's very different to today, I imagine. But, you know, you can't live in the past. I understand you've got to develop and change with the times, but it was hard. It was a hard time training, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, and I felt like I'd found a family, and I found my home in amongst other people that were trying to do what I was doing. I've never felt more at home than I do when I'm with people that I've shared experiences
It's
like
a
that
tribe.
with. It's a tribe, absolutely.
Is,
and there's a saying in the police: only those that know, and that's the truth. And if you know it. And if you were never one of those people that were never really accepted into the fold, you knew you weren't either.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah.
So you should.
Yeah, far out.
Yeah.
During these times, again, there was a couple of big movies. Police Academy was coming through.
How old am
I
I? I was a kid when that came out.
Yeah, but you know, you all watched all those as well. And you know, I know a few people that joined the police just because of those movies. You know, thinking they'd see titties in the shower.
Yeah. I saw some very unhealthy men in the showers. I don't know whether any of that influenced me. I don't know. I was always interested. It was
definitely because
my brother joined a couple of years before me.
Oh, did he?
And I saw him going through the academy, and I saw the relationships that he was having, and I know as a young child, I was a sensitive young kid. I felt things really deeply, and I've always sort of been sensitive, and I didn't like violence. I used to be really, you know, I'd see conflict and violence, and I remember I wouldn't shake, but I'd get my heart would race
anxiety.
As a kid. Anxiety. I thought, and then you enter a world where violence is your world every day, every single work day. There's violence, and I ended up. I'm not proud, but I have a hardness now which I never imagined I would have, and violence means nothing to me now. Like, it's strange how it can change over time.
Yeah.
So I'm certainly not that sensitive, which is sad. There's probably a loss of innocence there somewhere, because I was a sensitive kid, and I don't like watching boxing or MMA and stuff. I don't like watching blokes get the shit kicked out of them. I just don't like it. But when there's time to
turn it on,
you have to kick shit out of people. You got to do it, and I'm good at it, and I'm not proud of that.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing, but I am good at it.
Yeah, fuck. Mate, just back to you growing up in regards to discipline.
Yep.
Now, you grew up in a police family. How was your dad? Like, was he strict on you guys?
Yeah.
Or was he,
Yeah.
Just typical.
My dad was a military man as well.
Yep.
He had a very proud military man. He was in the artillery, and and he's from a different generation, and I choose my words carefully because Dad was and is he's just a complicated man that's from a different time that there was no feelings spoken of, and he mightn't have had the opportunities that I had, but it was always a bit of anxiety around Dad. Dad was quite a hard man. Yeah, growing up was pretty hard.
Different times.
Just different times,
Mate,
and he was a different generation. He
They
was
were blokes.
and a great provider.
Yeah.
And the
They were
work ethic
men.
he had in the police, he'd go to work with his head missing. He wouldn't miss a day of work. Very, very proud policeman. And yeah, so some of those qualities he had were good, but he had other qualities which frightened me probably. I don't really want him alive.
Yeah, right. Mate, just back to the academy side of things. Now, we know these days they don't really expose the academy or the what do you call them? Cadets? What do you call them?
Cadets.
Cadets.
Yeah.
Police cadet. That's what I
Trainee.
mean.
Yeah, police
Training.
cadets. Yeah.
Anyway,
Students.
That's it. Because university
police
now.
officers,
That's right.
SPOs,
They're students.
Yeah, okay.
So, in regards to the students these days, they don't get exposed to going to do a post-mortem, or they're not doing, they're not getting fucking
That's amazing.
screens
you say
of people seeing dead people and stuff like that. Whereas back in your day, that was part of the curriculum, was to go to a...
And we didn't talk about this, but you've just exactly described what happened in that 1 month where I'd seen some dead bodies prior, just unluckily as a teenager. But I remember I went for that 1 month placement at Maitland, and a dear mate of mine, JD, he was another student, and we did our time together at Maitland for that 1 month. And the first day we turned up, we get an orientation. They said, all right, you two boys, we've got some good news for you. There's a PM being conducted at Newcastle Hospital. Just we'll drop you up there and you can watch that, and a post-mortem. And I remember it clearly. It was an elderly lady, and me and my mate are standing there and watching, and I thought, wow, this is bizarre. And I still remember that. And I couldn't put a number on how many dead people I've seen now, but I still remember her because the origin of that first time to see death up close like that. But that was just expected. And then I remember police in that same month period where you're only an observer, you're only watching. Oh, lucky kids, there's a fatal out on the highway. Quick, get your stuff, we'll come out here and look at that. And you go out there and it's just devastation. But they were exposing you to get you used to it. And I was the type of person that wanted to be exposed to. I wanted to experience what the police had to offer. I wanted to see whether I could perform in circumstances that were, other people couldn't. And but I don't know whether there's a push to expose junior police to stuff like that now.
No, they don't, which is
I
weird,
imagine
which
they
is
don't.
crazy. Because
Well, they're going to have to.
that's probably the hardest part, because you're going to go to their first job and see their first dead child or something,
Yep.
and that's where you can get scarred. Whereas I guess the way they did it back then, and military was the same. They showed us getting their heads cut off,
accident
whatever,
victims,
everything. And I guess it never really affected me moving forward. Like, I kind of just desensitization.
I joined the highway patrol for a little while, and part of the highway course back then was they showed a video of a multiple fatal accident. It was called the Fatal Five. And, young people involved in or 5 people passed away in a car. You couldn't and I was only a video to watch it, and it was part of the course, and I thought, wow, that's still etched in your mind. That is absolute trauma and devastation. But they must have been doing that to let you know that, if you're going to drive like a cockhead,
Exactly.
fair chance you'll,
Yep.
So I think it served a purpose. I think it was good. But whether they do that now, I don't know.
No, I don't think they do. I think the last few people I've spoken to, they definitely don't do it.
Yeah.
Different times, different times, different people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But when I joined the police, I knew you'd see bad things, or you'd see deceased people. It's just the frequency of it that towards the end you just can't believe. You'd see 10 deceased people over a 4-day period sometimes.
Fuck.
Like, as a supervisor, you'd have to go out to, natural deaths, or, it ends up being part of your life is dealing with dead people, and it's hard. And you will have heard it. It's dealing with the families that are a lot worse than the trauma. It's absolutely the worst part because, you're seeing great people at their absolute worst time, and it takes a toll, definitely.
Of course, mate. Now back to you finished the academy, graduate. How's your old boy? He's loving it.
Well, my brother came down.
Oh, did he? Yeah.
And he was in uniform. My dad was in uniform. Yeah, I know my dad was proud. He very, like I said, he was a very proud policeman. And my grandfather was a proud policeman too. And I still remember that they put you in a big auditorium in the morning, about to go out on parade, and they issue you your firearm, and there were revolvers back then, Smith & Wessons. And you get your firearm, and you've got it on your hip, and I remember that the instructor sort of spoke to all of us, 80 of us, and we're sitting there, and it was an inspirational Braveheart style, and it might sound like a wank, but for a 20-year-old like me, my eyes were open and I was listening to every word he said, and all my mates were too, and it was, this is what it's about, and go out and do it. And I still remember that speech today.
Yeah.
Who did it? It was good.
Yeah, right.
And I think, well, I'm here now. And then, 2 days later, I had to be in Sydney, ready to start my first day.
Yeah. Did they tell you where you were going to go before that?
You heard where we were going probably 6 weeks before the training finished, and all 85 of us got sent into Sydney. It was metro, and furthest out was like Hornsby or something like that. Most people went to Campbelltown, or I went to the city of Sydney, it was called then, or Central, right in town near George Street.
So straight in the thick of it.
Yeah. It was fun. I didn't know where George Street was. I was a kid, and in George Street in Sydney and policing, and so I did that for while I was a probationary constable, and then I transferred to Maroubra, and I'd never been to Maroubra in my life, but apart from Grafton, it was one of the most enjoyable places I've ever worked. Maroubra was it was a really challenging place to work. There was heaps of crime in Maroubra.
Yeah.
Heaps of housing commission and heaps of bra boys were big in the day back in the 90s, but just the general crime and the low socioeconomic groups that were living in Maroubra and South Coogee, all these nice sounding suburbs, but they were just really hard to police. And I probably cut my teeth in Maroubra, and it was great memories of Maroubra.
Just back to central Sydney, mate. Mm-hmm. Do you remember any memories of, I guess, your first time, in the blues, out in the street?
I remember, I do. And it's something that I never really got used to but you do notice, and as a young person, people looking at you. People look at police and they just watch you, not for any sinister reason, but people just generally watch to see what the police are doing, and you end up doing a lot of your job realising that everyone's watching you, and they're not watching to see whether you do something wrong. I think there's nothing else to look at, so they'll watch the policeman go past and see what he's doing. But I remember clearly people watching you, and they look at you when you're eating. Oh, the police eat too,
They're
wow,
human beings.
Look at this guy. He's in a record shop, and he must like music, like us,
like us,
like humans. And my mind's misses a bit. I get a little bit memory loss there, but yeah, it was. I remember I was really blessed that you get a buddy, somebody that looks after you, and I won't mention a name, but I had this buddy who was influential and a hard man. And one of the first days I'd ever been a policeman, we were walking along in the daytime in George Street, and anyway, this bloke, I'll call him Sean, and Sean sees this bloke. He sees these two blokes up an alleyway, but it's still middle of Sydney, so there's people around, but we're up an alleyway near Central Lane. And there was these two crooks, and at the time they were called Assyrian Kings. They were a gang back in the day, Assyrian Kings. And anyway, he pulled these two up right for so and said he knew they were Assyrian Kings anyway. I remember him saying to them, oh, I know about you Syrian Kings. You're cowards. What me and my mate here, Dallas, are going to do, we're going to turn our backs and you guys can start attacking us because that's how you guys do it. So he said, turn around, Dallas. So I turn around, and Sean did too, and we're standing there, and he goes, hey, anytime you're ready, boys, start. Anyway, they said, we don't want to fight anyway. Sean turned around and showed him what fighting was all about. And
Oh, give it to him.
and he said, don't ever come back into Sydney again. You're not welcome here. And I remember looking down at my hand, shaking, like, I'm getting the sack. I said, that's it. My career's done. These two blokes are laid out on the road. And I thought, wow, you can't explain what's going through your head. I thought, I'm in trouble here. And then anyway, we just walked off and away we went. I thought, my God, this is the Wild West. This is how, and those people absolutely deserve to be treated like that because they were scum. And yeah, wow. I mean, I've been in the police in Sydney and this happens. Like, wow, it was
that's wild.
but it was good. But I had friends that had buddies or trainers that were different, and they didn't get that sort of hands-on exposure that I did, and I could see how effective good street policing can be. It's really it's a dying art, that street policing of dealing with people how they deserve to be treated.
Any memories of your first arrest?
No,
No.
a lot of shoplifters.
Yeah.
I remember I arrested two blokes that stole a suitcase from Grace Brothers. I remember that, and it was the first time I had to do paperwork for court. And so it's funny, I remember their names and I remember where they lived.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. Takax was one guy's surname, and the other guy's surname was Case, and he stole a case. I remember that. How weird's that? And but I can't remember where I parked my car an hour ago, but I can remember those
little things.
Weird. It's weird how some things stick in your mind and others don't. But yeah.
So from there, how long do you spend in that
About 6
station
months,
for?
I think 6 or 9 months. I can't remember now. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And then moved out to Maroubra.
To Maroubra, yeah, and I did years out there.
Where are you living?
Then I was living at Bondi. We had a friend of the family, an elderly lady that thankfully we could stay with her. And then I moved into units with mates and things like that, and other blokes I work with. But I always lived in the eastern suburbs when I was in Sydney. You couldn't do it now, you couldn't afford it, but it was, I lived in Maroubra and places like that.
So you get posting to Maroubra, mate, as you spoke about, it was quite, the Wild West with the Bra Boys and just crime in general because it's the lower end of society.
I know what you're saying.
And, mate, run us through a little bit through scenarios here.
Maroubra really opened my eyes to, there's some real established, really good underworld figures in the East too that you'd see from time to time, and they were probably being investigated by people a lot senior to me and that. But you would see like sportsmen, you'd see celebrities, you'd see the celebrity, the Ibrahims and all those sort of people. You'd see a lot, but there were also there were teams of armed robbers that would live in South Maroubra and out near the jail, Malabar, places like that. There were streets and streets of where there are some streets that I did a search warrant in every house in this street. Just hard areas, really, really difficult. Maroubra had a reputation as being a really tough place at that time, but it's still a beautiful place. Like it's
what it is now.
Awesome.
Fuck, it's high end now.
It's unreal. It's
squillions of dollars for a house there.
Yeah, I love Maroubra, but and after being in Maroubra for a while, I was lucky. I was able to start a plainclothes section with a dear mate of mine, or two of them, and the three of us got to basically work unsupervised in a plainclothes capacity for a few years in targeting street level stuff. Oh, just fun. Like you'd go to work, if you didn't get paid, it was just so much fun because it was a real opportunity to make, arrest proper crooks, not, dealing, I've always had a real hatred for bullies and for people that pick on people that are down or out or weak. I hate people that pick on weakness. So the police was an opportunity to get in the face of people that like doing that. And once you do it, you see who the cowards are because the bullies are always cowards. Everyone knows that. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I never get any really enjoyment out of, arresting someone for drink driving or someone steals something they've done the wrong. But to get into those and arrest people that are trying to stick guns in people's faces and steal their property off them or steal their car that they love, and to be able to arrest real grubs, real low life scum like that was really what motivated me. I loved that aspect of the police. I loved being able to arrest people.
How was the tempo?
Full on. It was
Just non-stop.
Busy, non-stop. There was as much work there as you'd want. And the more the merrier. It was. We were really effective, and it was. It was a really good time to be my age in that place at that time. It was a really match made in heaven. There was a huge. When I was at Maroubra, the ram raids were really, really prevalent.
That's right.
The WRXs started getting stolen for the first time.
The ATMs.
Yeah, they used to do ATMs. They used to do like Louis Vuitton or Bulgaria or somewhere down in the rocks. And I've got a funny story. Those WRXs were really the favourite car for the ram raiders and armed robbers and stuff like that. And one night I was working with a bloke that was new to the unit, and this is when we were in uniform, and there was a ram raid. I'll say Louis Vuitton, but it was at 4 a.m. It was a green WRX doing a ram raid, and a green WRX had got knocked off in the afternoon, ABC 123 or something. Rego. Anyway, so we knew when that job happened, the police would go to different sections, different areas, because they only used a couple of routes in and out of the city. So we got the call and they're doing the store, and they were loading the stuff up. So I went to this one place at the Canal Road and the Princess Highway, and I was with a new bloke to the section, and we're sitting there and we're waiting, and those cars make a real distinctive sound.
Yeah, of course.
You know.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And it was like 4 a.m. It is a beautiful sound. And it was misty, and it was foggy, and there's nobody on the road, and I'm just sitting there and I thought, there's a fair chance it'll come there anyway. You can hear it coming. You can hear it coming for kilometres. And they're still calling it in the town, the police radio saying, but it had left because that's how long it takes to get the information. Anyway, so we were thinking a green WRX ABC 123. Anyway, here it comes, and it goes across our field of vision from right to left, doing 200 and something kilometres an hour. And the bloke that's sitting next to me, who's new to the unit, looked over and he said to me, Dal, I didn't get the rego, mate. I said, I reckon it's it. I reckon there's a fair chance that's the stolen car.
200k an hour.
With no headlights on, full of Louis Vuitton.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget him going, I didn't get the rego. And I went, please, that's it. And we chased that for ever, but he got away.
What year was this? 90s?
90s. 99? Yeah, it's in the late 90s.
Oh, was it? So we're talking Colin McRae.
Colin McRae.
WXs.
Absolutely. That model, particularly when they were
bee's knees.
The same people that were stealing those WRXs were the ones that had previously been stealing Porsches and things like that to do. Like they were called the Turbo Kids. They were 60 Minutes did a story on them, I think. And they'd all developed into good crooks, armed robbers, and counter jumpers and things like that. And they used those early model WRXs, but I don't know. Watching the news now, they seem to like Mercedes and BMWs and all the good. They've got good taste. Yeah. They always have. And they're very hard to catch.
Yeah. So how'd you go chasing that vehicle?
Got away.
Got away. Yeah. Too quick.
Yeah.
Too quick for the Commodore.
Too quick. It would have been a Commodore, yeah. But, people like to think, they get away more often than not.
Yeah.
But there's other ways to skin a cat. But I just never forget the look on that young bloke's face. You go, like he was disappointed at himself. I said, no, I think it's it, mate. I think that's the one we're looking for.
So how long did you spend at Maroubra?
5 years or so, I think.
Yeah.
And then...
and you're still loving it? You're still loving the job?
Loving it. I loved it. I soaked it up. I remember and young blokes and girls back then, they rostered you on for Christmas because you were new, and you'd let the married blokes with kids have Christmas Day off so they could spend it. And I spent Christmas riding the truck at Maroubra, and it was fantastic. And a six-pack between our legs. Christmas hats on. You were amongst your other family. You're a family that you could be yourself with. And it was just as fun being at work on Christmas Day. I want to kick myself for saying that now, but because I'd never do that now. But back then it was, you didn't want to miss anything. You wanted to be there on Christmas Day, and we were all together. There was a lot of people in the same boat as I was. Yeah.
Did you have a few guys from the academy?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And still friends today.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So during this time from Maroubra, you posted back around the metro side of things, so Redfern, Mascot, Daceyville and Randwick?
Yeah, we moved. I worked in a little while in it was a compound. It wasn't a police station, so it was different to work in a place that just had our police cars and our office, and we had no police station, had no charging facilities or anything, and no one really knew what we did there. It was in an industrial sort of area, and you were just
like 21 Jump Street.
Yeah, it was good. It was, and I got to work with some great men and women then too, and then Mascot was the last place I was at before I transferred. But I was in the Highway Patrol then, and Mascot covered areas like Redfern and in town and places like that. And I stayed there until 2004, I think. And at that point, I wanted to change, I think.
Yeah. Where's your brother?
My brother at that point, he was at Burke. He was at
He's still up there?
No, he was at Burke for a long time, and then he came back and went to Coracai. The Coracai is a little place near Woodburn, and then from there he went to Casino, and he finished up at Casino.
And your old boy, is he still in?
No, the old man got out. Probably when I was at Maroubra. Yeah, he got out a long, long time ago. So yeah, my brother, he was a tremendous street policeman too, and he suffered badly from PTSD, and he's another really success story to see how good the man he is and the family he has is really inspiring.
Yeah, nice.
Good bloke.
Might have to get him on.
Oh, I know his nephew wants to come on. He's got the biggest man crush on you. Haven't you, Jake?
Shout out, buddy.
A little Jake.
Mate, so 2004, transferred up to Taree, Highway Patrol, one of those blokes.
Yeah, it was hard. I joined the Highway Patrol in Sydney when they did a very different role to the traditional Highway Patrol. I never became comfortable with booking mum and dad going to school, going on holidays, but it was also a really great tool to be able to disrupt crooks and scumbags. It was a good section to be in Sydney, but to get out of Sydney, I agreed to stay in the Highway Patrol a bit longer. I was probably over it, and I wanted to go back to general duties, but to get that transfer, I stayed in Highway Patrol, and it was good. I enjoyed my experience at Taree. I had two kids. My two kids were born when I was at Taree. The best days of your life, when the birth of your kids. But Taree itself was a hard place to police. It was it wasn't the most pro-police town. It had its own challenges, and the people I worked with there, again, tremendous. But I was happy to be leaving Taree when I had an opportunity to promote. So yeah, I think I did 5 years in Taree, and then an opportunity came up at the beginning of 2009 to take up another spot, still in the Highway Patrol, but as a sergeant. So I got promoted to sergeant then, and that probably gave me another couple of years in the Highway Patrol where I learnt to be a sergeant in that role, which was good. And then, but I always wanted to go back to general duties, and as soon as I could, I went back. I went back to what I knew best, probably.
How long was that?
I think I went back to general duties in about 2012. Probably.
2012. But during this time, you're promoted to sergeant at Grafton.
I was at Grafton Highway Patrol.
2009, yep.
2009, yep. So, so I moved to Grafton thinking, this is going to be a lot like Taree. Another big river town. It's going to have the same problems as Taree. And went to Grafton, and it was like a religious experience. Grafton, hand on heart, is the best town in Australia. It is the greatest town to live, to bring up a family, to some of the best people on the planet live in that Clarence Valley, Grafton area. And pro-police, like the support the police used to get in that town is enormous because, the good people, there was very low crime, just the last of that classic country town, I think, in Australia. And they write songs about it. It's a great town. And because I moved all my life, I never had a hometown. But Grafton's my home now, and it'll always be my home. I have no desire to go anywhere else.
Yeah, right. Now, during this time, mate, at Taree or Grafton, anything significant happen?
Oh, yeah, lots.
Yeah, lots, yeah.
Yeah,
no doubt.
I was involved just before I went to Taree in Sydney, I was involved in a pursuit with a stolen car, and the occupant was a close relative of a very famous sportsman. I won't say, but he incinerated in the car after a pursuit, and it required a coroner's inquest into how this guy died. And he was in a stolen WRX, funnily enough, and he crashed when I was pursuing him, and he incinerated in there. And it was a very hard period, really hard. I was a young man, and you're going to a coroner's court and explaining why you continue to chase somebody in the afternoon and the circumstances of how it crashed, and it was scary. It was a really, and I had nothing to hide, but a lot of that inquest was aimed at, because at one time in the pursuit he stalled it and I pulled up alongside him and I could see him and I was looking across, and a lot of the inquest was aimed at whether I knew who it was and I recognised him, because if I'd recognised him I shouldn't have continued pursuing, because I could have arrested him later. I didn't need to put the public at risk if you sort of know who the offending driver was. He might have looked familiar, but I'd never met him. I didn't know who it was. But they made a real point of going through every arrest I'd ever made to see whether I had ever arrested him in the past or whether I'd ever put in a report about him to see whether I might have. And I didn't know who he was, but I'd heard of him and I knew who he was after it became apparent. But yeah, it was.
What year was this?
I don't know. 2000, somewhere around the Olympics.
Oh, early 2000.
Yeah, early 2000.
Did you see a change in the police at that stage? Because it sounds very targeting of putting you. No,
that was the family of the deceased. That was their.
Was it?
And initially, Internal Affairs were interested to see whether I knew. Because
technically is a death in custody.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Which is stupid. That's a loose term, death in custody these days.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Police. How can someone be in custody when they're
getting
on a roof
chased,
or something? Yeah. But yeah, it was, and it was the first time really. And then I had another coroner's inquest in relation to another pursuit, which was a fatal, in a very close proximity, and I had to give evidence. And that inquest was a little different in that it was a pursuit that happened at night, and a friend of mine was a very good reporter for the Daily Telegraph at the time, and he always knew where the chases would be and where the police were. He was very, very good at his job, and he knew we were chasing this car, or the police were chasing this car, and he set up in a place where he could take still photos as it went past. And at the intersection he was at, the guy actually lost control and hit a power pole, was ejected. He hit the power pole and died. The inquest sort of went down the line of whether his photographs blinded the driver as he.
Oh, get fucked.
Yeah, this guy was running the red light no matter what he was doing. He was never going to make any. But it's funny how you don't know which avenue they're going to look at an inquest like that. And I thought, wow, and he suffered because of that. He thought, wow, that was his job, and he was doing a great job.
Trying to ping him for
and there were great photos. You could see the guy, his face lit, like it was a good photo. But so I did both of those inquests in a pretty short space of time, and that's when it sort of dawned on me that you got to know your stuff. It would be a horrible place to be in that coroner's court if you had done something wrong. Oh, it would be a horrible place to be.
It's fuck. I just can't. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because, let's just say that car speeds off, kills a family of 5.
Yeah.
And they come back to you anyway and they go, why didn't you chase him?
Well, that car had been detected on red light cameras in the tunnel.
Yeah.
In the tunnel for the previous 5 days. It had been stolen for 5 days. And every time it got caught on a camera, it was doing 200 kilometres an hour. Like just how it drove. So it drove like that, whether it was getting pursued or not. But I don't know. There's enormous responsibility they expected the police to, I don't know. Very, very hard to have that amount of responsibility for things that are out of your control. Like you can't control what someone's going to do, when they're behind the wheel of a really powerful stolen car. But there's, luckily, if you can use the word, he was the only person that died in that. He hit multiple cars, and I even saw his car rolled over a number of other cars, and I saw a statement made by one of the drivers in a car that was sitting at the lights, and it rolled over him, and he made a statement saying that he saw the plane crash. He thought it was a plane crash. He thought it was a fuselage of a plane crashing on him. It must have like high speed, big collisions. So so I was ready to, those two things sort of happened at a close period, and high stress for a young bloke. Even though I knew I hadn't done anything wrong, I knew I had nothing to fear. But so I sort of left the Sydney and to go to Taree and eventually Grafton. You think, I'm be a bit safer out in the bush,
Wrong.
Like, and now I think 100% it's safer in the city than.
Is it?
100% than the police in the rural area. Just to have support and assistance and things like that. Things can still turn horribly bad really quick for police in town, but the remoteness in regional New South Wales when the shit hits the fan is
especially medical side of things.
Yeah, stuff like that. You're out on your own. But I never thought that I'd end up shooting somebody dead in Grafton of all places.
Yeah,
and there'd never been a police shooting in Grafton before, ever. Even back in bushranger times.
Yeah, mate, we'll definitely touch on that shortly. Now, so as you said, 2009, you promoted to sergeant in Grafton, eventually back to general duties, back on the beat.
On the tours, yeah. I loved my time in high patrol and worked with some of the greatest men and women again, but I think I might have told you prior to the to a starting, without sounding like a big head, one thing I learnt that I was good at was leading or being part of small groups of team, like a team leader role where you might have 7 to 10 people under your supervision. And that's where I probably, if I did anything good in the police, is probably where I did my best work in helping other police. And I hate to say it, but I was pretty good at that. That's probably what I was best at. And I loved the idea of being part of that team environment and a team that you go to work, you face whatever you face for 12 hours and you all go home together and at the end of the shift accomplish something. That's really part of the police that I miss, is that, wow, we got through that shift with 4 of us, got through that shift and we're all going home and, wow, we did. And to see people look at themselves and think, I didn't think I could do that. And we did. That's what I think leadership and being a teammate is about, seeing your teammates do stuff that they don't think they can do. And in my career, mate, I absolutely stood on the shoulders of giants, and luckily I was able to do that. It was people I work with generally were just hardworking people that would have your back, and to know that you were so supported and that you knew, it's a cliche about putting your life in other people's hands and that, but to know that people were prepared to put their neck on the line for me, and I was prepared to do it for them, absolutely. It was an honour to do it. Only people that do things like that know what that feels like. And I know you do.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely know the feeling, mate. Now, up until obviously August 2017, is there any times you've had to pull your pistol out for anything?
Yeah. When I tell people, when I joined the police, most of the older sergeants and the older guys and women that I work with, they'd been in the cops 25 years and they'd never, ever had reason to draw the revolvers. The chances of joining the police and shooting someone was minute, really. But, yeah, many times over my career I had to draw my firearm for various reasons, clearing buildings that you knew people were inside, or attending jobs where people were armed with knives. The frequency of police attending jobs with offenders armed with knives is just through the roof. I don't know whether it was always like that, but I couldn't put a number on how many times I've been to any job where you arrive and there is an offender on the scene still holding knives or something, or machetes or axes. yeah, so I couldn't put a number on how many times, or I was never pulling the trigger. I was never close to thinking,
it was just there as a tool.
It was there.
To
it was
use
there
if needed.
to protect myself. I thought I might
exactly.
have to use it, but realistically, I didn't think I'd have to, but I was there in case I needed to. But when you need it, you want to have it.
Well, yeah,
That's what I learnt. Absolutely, it is.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't give you tools not to use. They give police these tools because policing's dangerous, and you should be able to protect yourself.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yep.
Now, mate, August 2017.
Yeah, that was the day of the shooting in Grafton. It was a Sunday afternoon, beautiful, like wild, typical sunny Grafton Sunday afternoon.
Just an everyday shift?
Yeah, everyday shift. It was the second of my day shifts. We do 2 day shifts, or we used to, and I don't know what they do now. We did 2 day shifts and then 2 night shifts. That was the end of my second day shift, somewhere around 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Well, the shift 6 till 6?
6 to 6, 6 a.m. to 6
yep.
p.m., yeah. So we did block rostering, 12-hour shifts. It was myself, I was supervising at Grafton. It was a car crew that consisted of a male and a female senior constable, and a female senior constable was in the station, and that was it. That was Grafton's police response for that day, which is, if anyone from Grafton's listening to that, they would be horrified to think.
That's wild. That's only 2017.
Yes, yeah, that was it for the day on a Sunday. And apart from this happening, we would have coped with it easily. Like I said before, sometimes we'd finish a normal 12-hour shift and look at each other and go, how did us 4 or 5 do that? We did personal pride in doing it, but that was the police response on the day. And I was sitting in the office, in my supervisor's office, and I heard the officer take the call in the station, and your ears prick up. And then I heard a job get broadcast over the radio. I think it was broadcast as a domestic. They thought it was a domestic in a unit, but a unit was a ground floor unit in a really nice part of Grafton, not far from the sort of industrial area, but a really nice part of Grafton where I knew people, and I didn't know of anybody that would be having a domestic where that was happening. And I thought, I wonder who that is. Or, I heard the job go on, and at some point there was a mention of something's not right with this job at that unit block. We're now getting reports that people are being held against their will, and there's a knife involved. And at that point, the car crew were in the station, and they stuck their head in and said, "Are you listening to this?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'll follow you. We'll follow you down." So they took off. I spoke, and 2 women entered the police station at that point, and you could see they were distraught, and I could hear them talking to the officer, and they had been in the unit, and they said, "We've just escaped from this guy. He's stabbing people in this unit." So, and the officer yelled out to me, "Are you listening to this?" I said, "Yeah, I'm on my way." So we started making our way down there, and we still thought it was a domestic. Like we didn't know who it was, and I was about a half a kilometre away, 30 seconds away from getting to the scene. I was going quick and I heard the car crew call off, the male and female officers call off. And then I pulled into the street, and I could see where they were parked. And as I pulled into the street, I could see the 2 police on the front yard, on the grass at the front of the unit, clear as anything. And I saw the friend of mine, she did brilliantly. She had a taser out, and I saw her taser this bloke, and I saw him hit the ground and start to twist. And as he was twisting, he was pulling the
prongs out,
and the wires. So I pulled up, and I saw who it was immediately. And I'd never seen this guy at that place before. I had no idea he frequented there. And I went, "Oh well, that's Chris McGrail." His name was. He had a nickname.
So it was known offender.
Yeah. I'd known him since I'd been in Grafton.
Oh shit!
Like I knew him. I'd been to numerous jobs where he might have been arrested. I never arrested him myself. I don't remember, but he was somebody that I dealt with and saw regularly, and didn't have a beef with, and he never really had a beef with me. And he was just a career criminal, with no redeeming qualities
Drugs.
whatsoever. Yeah, he was, and he had mental health problems apparently. But a huge drug dealer, a huge drug user. I said someone with zero redeeming features whatsoever, and a violent, nasty, hate-filled man. And I saw him straight away. He had a distinctive tattoo on his face, and I'd seen him. He was wearing a singlet and some board shorts, and he had this huge knife in his hand, big kitchen knife, like basically any kitchen block, the biggest knife out of anyone, you know. And I thought, wow, here he is. But what I didn't realise, what had happened when the police truck had turned up, he'd come out of the unit block where he had been over drug debt or something. I don't know what it was. There was some issue he had with somebody in that unit, but he'd stabbed somebody in the eye socket in there. He'd broken somebody's nose with a hammer. He was holding people against their will, you know, like those offences he committed inside that house carried 25 to life. And anyway, he'd come out of the unit and the police were there and they were talking to him, and then they realised he said words to the effect of them, "Are you ready?" And they said, "What?" And he produced the knife. So the police did brilliantly. Like the female senior constable was very, very experienced police officer in her own right. I think she's senior sergeant now. She was a very experienced police officer and very good tactically. The taser was ineffective. So as I pulled up, I said to the radio, "I'm off at that job now." And I said, there's a taser deployment here and it's unsuccessful. And then I didn't talk to the radio again. I got out and I immediately you can see on the taser cam, I'm pulling my firearm out because I just thought, wow, what is he doing with this knife? Like, what's McGrail doing? And I can see other people standing there, and there was a guy holding his face, and he'd been stabbed in the face, and he was bleeding. And then people were sort of starting to come out. It's quite a street, but people were coming out of their homes because he was screaming at the top of his lungs, and that murderous, rasping voice that you don't see all that often, but when somebody has got murder in their heart. And I heard him saying things, and I thought, it made me think immediately, this isn't normal, because he was saying things like, I want to die, kill me. He had a son, a great guy who had passed away, and he was saying, I want to be with my son. And that was just sending off alarm bells in my head. I thought, I know what's going on here. And he was yelling things like you said, the motto before, SBP. He said stuff like that. And subsequently, they did research about him, and he had been posting things on Facebook or something for the previous couple of days about his life was coming to an end, and he did a video will where he said he was going to SBP, and which I didn't know at the time. But so that's a little bit of background. So we're there, and there's 3 police, there's me and the 2 police, and him standing there with this knife screaming at us in the front yard to shoot him. So he then proceeds to advance towards us back out onto the road. So the 3 of us are standing on the road, and traffic is starting to come up, and I'm trying to get cars to stop, and people can sort of see what's going on. So the world sort of stops for a little while. Birds stop making noise. Everything slows down. Absolutely. Yeah. It's funny, afterwards I had doctors and psych say, you probably don't remember things. I said, I remember everything, every single detail. I remember every word that was said. It's a cliche, I know, but it really was in slow motion. Anyway, so I started the 2 people on the truck, I don't know whether they recognised who he was. I don't know whether they knew him like I knew him. Anyway, so I started calling him, I said, Chris, and I thought, appeal to him as a person, I said, mate, you know me. And I kept saying, mate, you know me, mate. He goes, I know you, you're a cunt. I went, oh, well, yeah, he's got me there. No, I went, oh, well, it's not working. And I'd say stuff like, bud, or mate, come on, drop the knife. And he was saying things like, which one of you is going to shoot me? And he'd go towards the male officer, and then he'd go towards the female, and they'd back off, and he'd come towards me. And the female police officer had her firearm out, and I had mine out. And I'm just trying to they were doing a great job, but he sort of focused on me, not because of anything else, but he knew me, and I think he knew that I'd do it too. Like, deep down, I think he knew. And I sort of became his focus a little bit. Then of, well, you're the one that's going to do it. And I had a better relationship with him. I knew him, and I knew his partner. I knew her well, and I started to say things to him that I wanted. I said, mate, it's not worth it. Well, just put the knife down. But at one point, he kept walking towards us, and we just slowly retreated backwards, walking backwards along a road, and more people are coming out of the houses by now, and I can see people. And after about 40 seconds of talking to him, because all the conversation was recorded on the taser cam, because the officer had it, because it was activated, it records audio.
Oh, does it?
So it continued to record the audio of him and of the interaction between us. Not video, but you could hear the audio, and they transcribed it, and you could hear the conversation that we had. And after about 40 seconds of talking to him, I could see, well, I thought, I'm going to have to shoot this guy, 100%. I'm going to shoot this guy. Am I justified? And I started ticking things off in my head. And then he started to slice his own throat with the knife. So he was standing in the middle of the road, and he ran the knife down both sides of his neck, and blood started. And I remember looking at him, and I was thinking, just bleed out and drop. And but of course he wasn't. And then he kept walking towards us, and he changed the way he held the knife. He would slice his own throat open, and then he'd point it at us and say, who wants it? Who wants it? And then he'd say to you, he said, I'm going to shove this right through your fucking face. He said, you're getting it right in the heart. Get ready. And then he would put the tip under his chin and bounce. And I think he was trying to get the courage up to, I was thinking, just ram it up, just get it in there, and then you might drop it, and we might be able to arrest him and give him the treatment he needed, like he was opened up. But and it was like he was trying to get the courage to jam the knife up, but he wouldn't do it. And he kept jumping and jumping. And at that point, I was convinced I was going to have to shoot him, or I was going to be killed, 100%. And no doubt whatsoever, I knew what the stakes were at that point.
What's the distance, between you guys?
In my interview, and I said with my hand on my heart, he ranged from 5 metres away to 10 metres.
Yeah, so that's
just far too close. You could travel that distance in a second or so.
Yeah.
And I honestly said in my interviews, when it got time to shooting him, that he was 3 metres away from me. But the forensic examination proved he was 7 feet, which is a lot closer. So I gave him a lot longer than I probably should have.
It's less than,
which I'm angry at myself
2
about.
metres.
Yeah, it's not far. 2 metres is.
Yeah.
So that's how close he ended up getting. But I ended up, as I was retreating, I knew there was a boat. There was a boat parked on that road, and I knew we were heading back towards it. I knew the area well, and I thought, in my head, well, that's the Alamo. I am not giving any more room to this bloke. If he wants, I'm not, and I took a final step, and I thought, I'm not going to go back anymore because I'll trip over. I thought I'm going to be up against this boat where there's a little ditch. I thought and as soon as I went over, I knew you'd be on me and he'd be stabbing me. So I thought, this is my Alamo. I'm not giving up any more room for you. If you want to come, you're forcing my hand. And I caught myself verbally looping, which is like, when you repeatedly say the same thing with no result. I was saying, drop the knife, and I was grateful that I learnt that I was aware that I was doing that. So then I used other things, like I used his name, and I tried everything just to see whether he could. But he was just intent on, and at that point I ticked off in my head. I knew I was going to shoot him, and I just thought, what's behind him? Because part of the training is, know your target, know what's in front of it, know what's behind it. And I knew where he was in the middle of the road and where I was in the middle of the road, where I was generally going to shoot him. There's a school down there, but there's no one in school on a Sunday, but there's houses and there's units and there's people out. And I can remember seeing people on their verandas coming out, and a lady come out and she was walking down the stairs on the side of a house. And I remember pointing at her saying, go inside, because I did not want to miss, and I thought, then there was people behind him.
Which has happened in the past. I think there was a shooting in Paramount just quickly.
Yes.
Hornsby.
Yeah, it was Hornsby at the shopping centre.
The old, she shot an old dog.
Yeah, I know. And anyway, I was ticking off, and I knew I was justified, and I knew, and I just thought, And I'd been taught by good police early on, even like our mutual friend, he taught me early on, before you start chasing someone in a car, take a few deep breaths. He said it physically changes your body so you can think clearer. So I took some deep breaths, and I was still engaging with him, talking, and I knew, and I had a mark on the road, and I thought if he gets any closer than that, I'll shoot him. And he must have knew I wasn't giving up any more room, because he said at the end, he said, "Are you ready for it?" And he changed the position in which he held the knife. He said, "Are you ready?" And I ticked off in my head, and I thought, I know what's behind him. And I was never a brilliant shot at training, but I knew I'd hold my own. I'd always pass. I never had a problem with passing. And he started coming in for me, and I remember I'd rung my daughter about an hour prior, and she was young, and she was at home watching a Barbie movie. And I remember looking in his eyes, and I was thinking, I'm about to get stabbed to death here, and I'm going to die on this road with my beautiful daughter watching a Barbie movie at home, and I'm just going to expire here, and they're going to hear about this. If I fuck this up, like the stakes are high. Anyway, he comes in towards me, and I thought 3 metres. I thought he was 3 metres, and I thought that's close enough, you can have it. And I discharged 2 rounds. And I knew the first shot hit him because he was wearing a singlet and it moved. I could see it twitch. It got him right centre, right in the centre of the chest. And it really hard, and it just pulled him up. Like, they are a devastating round, those.
40 cal.
Yeah, wow.
Hollow point.
And really, really effective. And that just stopped him straight away, and he dropped to his knees. And he's still holding the knife, and the feeling of relief, I've never felt anything like it to this day, of pure relief. I went, wow, I'm going to live. Because I'd made peace. I thought I was going to die. I thought, oh, well, this is it for me. And then the realisation, well, I'm not going to die. I'm going to live here. And very hard to articulate the feeling of joy that, fuck, I'm alive. And I've got a round on, and it's worked, and he's not a danger, or as much as a danger. He's still holding a knife, and he's like on his haunches or on his knees, and he was rocking backwards and forwards. Anyway, I saw an opportunity to go, and it got brought up at the inquest. There was rumours around that I'd kicked him or something. And he was holding the knife, and I walked over and I kicked him as hard as I could, and it was the right thing to do, because it was like a film when the knife flew out of his hand and into the middle of the road, and then he was zero danger then. I knew he'd been shot, and it was zero danger. That was the right thing to do, and he fell back. So I holstered my firearm, and I still had that feeling of, wow, I'm going to live. Selfishly, I'm thinking, I'm going to live here. This is all right. So I lifted up his shirt to see where I'd got him, and there was a round in his chest. And then panic set in, because I could not find any other round. And I thought, and I knew I'd fired twice. I saw that he had the bullet wound right in the middle of the chest, and he had a deformation out the back of his shoulder blade. It was like the size of a grapefruit or a avocado, real soft tissue in the back where those controlled expansion rounds, they spin inside the body, but it must have ended up there, and he had a lot of trauma to his back, but the bullet had remained inside him. But I only found the one hole, and I started to panic. Truly, I thought, I've sprayed one here, and I'm looking at the crowd seeing, is anyone laying down, or is anyone screaming? Or I thought, they're going to find this round in 6 months' time in the school, and I'll never live this down. My mates will be into me forever saying, you're 2 rounds. And then for a split second, this is how dumb I am, for a split second, because very occasionally you'll know on the range when you're doing target practice, sometimes you can put two rounds through the same hole if you're very good. And I've thought to myself, I've shot him in the same place twice. And I'm not that good, And then I was thinking, no, there's no way that there's a round missing. And anyway, I looked down, he had shorts on, and they weren't the colour they were when I first got there. And I thought, what's going on here? And they were just slick and like they'd been hosed down. And I pulled his shorts down, and I saw the second round had got him in the femoral artery.
Oh, shit.
And so both rounds were unsurvivable. That the coroner, I think, said, or the forensic people said that. But then again, I had that feeling of elation, like, I knew where the 2 rounds were. I knew where they both were, and they were in him, and nobody that, I was really panicking that I'd sprayed one. So, and again, then I thought, wow, I'm going to, I know where they both are. I've done nothing wrong. I knew I'd done nothing wrong. But then I had an opportunity to do, the basic first aid on him, and I put my hand on the holes and tried to stop the bleeding, and that's arterial bleeds are like a hose.
Yeah,
Wow.
You probably got more luck surviving the chest shot than
yes,
the femoral
that's
artery.
what they said.
Yeah,
that's what they said. And he had started to turn grey, that real grey, real quick, no moving. He didn't say anything, but he had a level of consciousness still, because I called him. No, I said, you fucking idiot. I said, how fucking dare you? I said, all you have to worry about now is taking deep breaths and staying alive. So he must have had some level of consciousness, because he took deep breaths, like I said, like I told him to do. I said, just take deep breaths. But he was just leaking so much, like, and at that stage, other police had turned up, and and the other police that were there, that's where that incident sort of ended for me, because other police come, and I sort of assisted cutting his shorts off, and the ambulance were there really quick, and they were very close to the hospital. And I rang my boss. And I told her I just shot Chris McGrail dead, because I thought he was dead. He was laying on the ground like a deceased person, but he was still alive, and he was transported by helicopter eventually up to Gold Coast Hospital, and he was pronounced dead later on. But I knew from how he was looking and what he was doing, I knew he wasn't going to make it. I knew he was going to die if he wasn't already deceased. And then but it was never any, after that point, after those initial periods of, I think I've sprayed one here, I don't know where it is, there was never any panic, or, I quite calmly rang my boss, and I told her, I said, this is what's happened. She said, I'm coming in. And no, I don't know. And then that next phase in that chapter of my life started. Then it was a strange thing, in that for a while, and maybe still to this day in Grafton particularly, I'm still that guy. Like, people see and go, oh, that's that guy.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, and not in a bad way.
Yeah.
But you're still like I did a lot of great things in the cops, but I'm still that guy now. I'm that guy that shot Hoppy. You become that person, and I get that in a small town, and I still see his family, which is really rare for cops because not a lot of police do it, although there's a lot more frequent now. But I don't know how many police remain in the town where it happened, and I sat. I see his wife, made a widow, and I see her from time to time, and his children, and that's hard. It's hard, but I shan't be apologising either. It's not something I have to apologise.
No, definitely not, mate. No, no.
And I don't think they expect it either. To be honest,
no. That's
but that's
die by your actions.
Yeah, and really, selfish as it sounds, when it came to it, I have an inner pride that is very hard to explain. That when I had to fight for my life, I could do it, and in my personal opinion, his life didn't mean anything compared to mine, and that's the way it is, and I'll feel like that all my whatever days I have left. I did the right thing, and I'm proud that I did it.
And I've got no sympathy. It's, you play with fire, you get fucking burnt with fire.
But it's just cruel and unnecessary and selfish to burden your problems on the police.
Exactly right. And it wasn't just that single incident. There's multiple occasions. This guy was. Why was he not in prison to start off with?
Yeah.
That's another thing we could fucking go down a rabbit
he was
hole
on bail. He was on bail.
Of course he was. There you go.
And he'd just recently been released from a psych unit, and yeah,
which could have got cops killed, or someone else, maybe his family or his kids.
Yeah.
And he's out on bail.
Yeah,
and this is what's wrong with the fucking system.
Every time, and he, like I said, he was a bad offender and a frequent offender. You did the research. I think he did most of his adult life in jail. It's funny because he was a very similar age to me, and it's like parallel lives. Because I read during the coroner's report what I was doing when I was 20 and what he was doing at 20 and what I was doing at 25. With these groups in the police and doing good stuff. At 25, he was being an absolute fucking asshole and committing crimes and going to jail. And we just lived these two parallel lives. And at the end of it, when they met, and his life's not worth a pinch, mate. Not compared to mine. And that sounds arrogant, but 100%. That's how I feel.
Yeah, mate, just quick before we move on to the demise of your fucking life, the downhill side of things before it got better to what it is now. Mate, now I've spoken to a few guys in the past, like Mick F. TOU, has been involved in similar shootings. And I remember he spoke about his first shooting in 2012, and it was kind of, obviously the investigations come out, so they come out and they pretty much take your weapon off you, drug test you, put you he basically explained it's almost like being a criminal up until you're obviously proven.
You're good at your job, because that's exactly what I was going to say, is the next phase that happened to the three of us that were there at the scene. Appallingly treated. But I'm not going to use this as a vessel to bag what had happened, but in retrospect I was treated appallingly. And I have no animosity towards the critical incident team I was treated brilliantly. I was treated with support and dignity and respect, but things happened shortly after that shooting that bosses and people look back now and they think, why did that happen? Within 2 hours of making the most serious decision of my adult life, a life and death decision, I was
taking another man's life as well.
Within 2 hours, I was standing in the training room at Grafton Police Station in my underpants with a video camera in front of me filming me.
What do you mean?
That's
like you were fucking Martin Bryant.
That's what happened. They filmed it. They brought the forensic guys up and these guys are great guys. They were told that this. I don't know how it happened. I don't think they know how it happened. They filmed. They put a tarpaulin on the floor and they said, you stand on that, and they set up a tripod like your cameras, and they filmed me disrobing, and they put my stuff into a bag as they did it, and I had to take my gun off and then my boots. And I'm standing there in my underpants in a room with my peers and junior people junior to me. I'm standing there in my underpants, like
as a sergeant too.
As a sergeant, mate, as a crook. Like we can't do that to crooks. We can't video strip searches, and I don't know why they did it. I still don't understand. I understand they do it to show there's nothing to hide, but I still don't understand why that happened. My support person, he said, I was there with the support person from my association, he said, I think we've embarrassed the sergeant enough, can he have his clothes back now? So I went upstairs and got changed in my civilian clothes. But that, in hindsight, I'm angry about that because that shouldn't have happened. I didn't do anything wrong, and I told everyone. Where does this come? Who makes this instruction? Obviously, you've got your boss. Well, they liaised with the.
So this is the external.
The external critical incident team get made up from police that aren't that I know, general. Although you might know of them, but they're not from your area. But they were also guided by the homicide squad because they knew it was. I think they knew it was going to be a homicide, and police shootings get investigated to that homicide level, even if that don't end in fatalities and stuff. So I don't know, in hindsight, whose decision it was, but I know the female senior constable. I remember talking to her, and she looked me in the eye. She goes, "They're going to do the same to me, aren't they?" And I went, "How can they do this?" And in the end, they didn't. they ended up saying, "Oh, that wasn't necessary. We shouldn't have done that for Dallas, but we don't need to do it to the others either." And I thought, "Oh, well, thank God they didn't have to do it." But
That's wild.
it's wild.
You just get changed.
Well, just have my clothes. You
here's
don't
my
need
clothes,
to film
I'll
it.
put
I can
my-
understand they film it because they do gunshot
Yeah,
resignations.
yeah.
I understand that you have to be
Forensic side of
processed.
things,
And
yeah.
I understand that. And I explained to you, I had a hat. I was wearing a hat at the time because I'm bald, so I always wear a hat when I'm out so I don't get burnt. And it worked out that the peak of the firearm, the peak of my hat was closer to the firearm, and it had GSR on it, so they had to go into my locker, and they went through my locker and got my hat out because I thought, well, and I know they investigate very thoroughly, but the lead investigator, he said, 16 people saw me shoot him.
Well, that's it.
And he said 16 people said you did a good job. And he said that never happens ever in any shooting. There's always one person that stands up and said, "Oh, you should have shot him in the leg." Well, I did, or they say, "Oh, you should have shot him with a net." Or there's always not one person out of the 16 that saw that shooting all said that I was justified. And one other, just an example of how funny Grafton is and how good Grafton is for the police. While I was on the ground with him and I was trying to stop him bleeding, I could feel somebody from the first car that was parked on the road, not letting any other cars park. And I could see the bloke out of that car coming up towards me. And I could see he didn't want to interrupt. He was being polite, but he had something in his hand. He wanted to give it to me. And I looked up and I said, "Are you right?" And he goes, "Yeah, mate." He said, "I saw the whole lot and I've got dash cam." And I said, "Okay." He said, "Here's my name and number." And he'd written it on a piece of paper. So I took the bit of paper and I said, "Okay, the people I want to talk to you." And then he just pats me on the back. He goes, "You gave him too long, son."
Wow.
I went, "Thanks, mate." And I went, "Wow."
So it's all on footage.
He had footage in his car somehow, yeah. And there was footage from phones and stuff as well.
Oh, was there?
Apparently, yeah. But it's funny because at the inquest they don't show me because they don't want to upset me. But I was there.
You did
That's
it,
the incredible.
yeah.
Or they'll show you, they'll provide you the brief, but they won't show you the
images.
The images. And
You were there.
I'm there.
Yeah.
Like I should be able to. Looking at the images doesn't bother me one bit. Like I lived it. Like, and I'll never forget that bloke. He just said to me, "Yeah, you gave him too long, son." And he get a pat on the back, and I went, "But just some champion bloke that saw it." And,
So there is footage of this whole incident.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. No, I've seen, and there's audio. There's audio of the entire
I'll have to track it down.
exchange. I think I ended up talking to him for a minute and a half, or a minute and 40 seconds. And not just me, the other police were there. And there were times where we had to tactically move so we weren't in crossfire, so I wasn't pointing my firearm at the cops. And they
Yeah, of
were always
course. Yeah,
conscious of where where she was pointing her firearm. It was just stressful and like high stakes, the world goes quiet and still, and it's high stakes. And
How long was this incident? You just spoke about that 1 minute 40.
yeah,
Is that how long it was?
yeah, probably
So
2 minutes from the time I got there to the time I shot him.
So, we speak for a good half an hour just on the
Yeah,
extent of it, but really it was 2 fucking minutes.
2 minutes. But I think sometimes compared to other police that they might get out of the car and get set on by somebody straight away, I think I was luckier
There
than
was
a lot
no
of
hold
other
up.
police.
It was just straight in.
It was straight in, and there was also, I had that time that other police don't get afforded where I was ticking things off in my head going, I know what's behind him. I know where I'm going to try to shoot him. I know how. I had time to process, and I think I was luckier. And I had a plan in my head. Well, this is my LMO. I'm not moving anymore. I'm not giving, and that's it's become like a mantra for my life. I fight for what's right now, and I don't give up room for losers. I don't take a backward step.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, mate, obviously they've stripped you down. Fucking hell. Who's out there? Someone's out there listening going, fuck, that was me. Fuck.
Yeah, but he's a good bloke. The bloke that was there, I have no animosity towards the people that were there that did it. And he sees me, my friends on Facebook.
Yeah.
And and it's not his fault what happened. And
No,
I don't know
there's-
whose idea it was from Sydney's, whose idea it was that happened, but it happened. And it got mentioned in the brief that the homicide guy put together, and he was a tremendous investigator.
It's like a defamation of character.
Yeah, and he said to my
Yes.
face, and he said, "Oh, that should have never happened." And I said, "I know that, but what do you do? They made a mistake. They shouldn't have done it." And I'm glad they didn't do it to the other police, but they did it to me, and they shouldn't have done it. But I'm not going to make it my life's worth to focus on that I got treated badly.
Yeah.
Because eventually I got treated very well. I've been very well supported.
Yeah, fuck.
In the long run. But you think at the time, I think this is like a movie. Like this is just wild. And
lucky you didn't have a G-string on or something.
Well, there is a story there, and
there is a story.
There is a story there, and I tried to ring the female officer that was there just before I saw you this morning, I'll people that know that story will know that she had reason to be really worried to be stripping down. She won't mind me saying that.
Yeah, right. Mate, so from there, basically, you've done all that. Next day, what's the process? Again, I've got a few other previous podcasts. I've got a bit of a background on what happens. Are you back to work? Time off?
I was supposed to come back to work the next night shift, so I didn't have to do that because I had to be interviewed. I had to get investigators up from Sydney because he wasn't pronounced dead until that night. I shot him somewhere around 4:30, I think, and I think he was declared passed away later on in the night in Queensland. So those investigators had to come up from Sydney. So my advice to anybody that ever goes through something similar was I waited 2 days to give my version of what happened. And it was really, really good because not so you can get a story together, but just so you could process what had happened. And I started to remember things 2 days after that I wouldn't have remembered the day after because I was still probably rattled.
Of course, yeah.
But I think a lot of police that are involved in critical incidents, they do get them that day or the day after, but they got a much better interview off me by waiting that extra day. So that was the next thing. They organised a time when I can be interviewed at the police station. It was in a format. Well, it wasn't video recorded, but the audio recorded, and I was able to. And it went for a few hours. But I found that process easy because it's nothing to lie. If you just have to tell what happened, it's very, very easy. That's like I'm not. Yeah, I'm enjoying this.
It's pretty much what you just said then was what you recorded.
Exactly, and it was recorded, and that's why if you're not telling lies, it's easy to remember the truth and to remember your version of events. And sort of, I remember at the end of that interview, it went for a long time. The investigators looked at each other and looked at me, and they went, "Wow, that's you did the right thing." Like blind Freddie can see that you were justified and it was warranted. But yeah, and that's the next phase then, that forensic stage where they sent my firearm away to be ballistically, forensically analysed. And I don't know why, obviously to prove to the court 100%. Yeah, just to match the bullet.
Yeah.
And I was on restricted duties for a few months.
A few months?
A few months, only because you weren't allowed to go back into that until you'd done they call it a stress shoot or a shoot after. You have to go to Sydney and be evaluated by some psychs and some trainers to see whether there was any issue with how you performed, whether you performed as you were trained or whether there was it was going to affect you down the track. So you go and you do a stress shoot. They put you in a dark room with a simunition firearm and then make loud noises around you and put lights on and have a bloke walk up towards you, and they try to emulate the circumstances as well as different ones, just to see whether you were gun shy or whether you were trigger happy, I guess. You might go either way. But and that's the reason why I had to be in a restricted capacity for a while. I didn't feel like it was a punishment. It didn't feel like that.
It's a long time though. That could have been a week or 2 weeks, maybe a month max.
It's a tyranny of distance from Grafton to Sydney, and maybe it was a month. I can't.
Don't know.
I'm rattled with times and stuff now, but I enjoyed aspects of that stress shoot because I wanted to talk to the trainers about it because I became really interested in my story and my how that eventuated and why I did what I did. And I explained to you before, I learned a lot about the origin of training, and it dawned on me, like, and I've learnt that the way you're initially trained under severe duress, you often revert back to that. As that's what your body learnt the first time ever, and that's clearly what I did, because when I first joined, I had a threat, aim for the centre body mass, fire 2 rounds, and then reassess, and that's exactly what I did. And that's the only part of that whole incident that I did subconsciously without thinking, because it just came natural that when it was time to shoot him, I'd let off 2 rounds. And when I went and met the trainers at the stress shoot, it was interesting because they were not critical, but they asked me questions. They tested me, which I enjoyed. One of the example, the bloke said to me, trainer, and they were very compassionate, but he said, "Why didn't you handcuff him?" And I went, "Exactly." And I liked that feedback. I should have handcuffed him straight after. And it was constructive criticism. Not criticism, it was constructive ideas. And I was treated really well, really, really politely and really well. And, they may – and if I had changed things, I wouldn't change anything. But, yeah, there's things that I know now about my training and about why I did certain things that and I've heard people all their life say, "Oh, you rely on your training," and it's always a bit of a wank, but it's not. When shit
memory
turns to shit,
turns to training.
It absolutely turns to training, and wow, just the stakes are so high. They are so high,
mate. It's wild.
It is.
It's wild when you talk about training, because that's what it's good to see that the police had a standard of training that gave you the readiness to do what you needed to do.
And I've heard and I've seen over my career, I would have been justified in shooting people in the past. And I know I've seen police would have been justified, but it's that reluctance to do it because no one wants to do it. I had no respect for this guy. He means nothing to me. I still didn't want to shoot him dead in the street. Like, that's not what you want to do. Although the relief I felt, indescribable when I knew he wasn't going to stab me.
However, post incident,
yep,
obviously you're back to work, but
things
started to crumble.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I then started to prepare for the inquest. That was always in my mind. I'm going to have to, and I'd like to touch on that later on because that was a different experience because they got held in Grafton.
How long after was this?
It's a couple of years
after.
Yeah. So the deputy coroner, she came, wonderful lady. She came to Grafton, and they had it in Grafton, which is very rare for Grafton. But prior to that, I went back to work, and then I passed everything I needed to, and I went back to being a shift supervisor, but things weren't the same. I remember clearly one day, very soon after, I was filling in some basic form you had to fill out at the beginning of every shift about a radio's accounted for or some. I looked at it and I clearly remember thinking, what the fuck does this form matter? Nothing. Is that going to save my life? Or anyone? And I ended up thinking, unless it was life or death, nothing really mattered unless it was that important. All these forms we fill out in the cops, and cops are inundated with paperwork. It just didn't matter to me anymore. And I saw them for what they were. It was, I think I just saw everything as life or death. If it wasn't life or death, it didn't matter. And you don't feel so alive as when you're close to death. That's when you feel absolutely the most alive. And all the little things that you used to have to do as you roll in the police, I thought, I'm all for helping people and going to do the job, but the things didn't matter anymore. And I was dealing with a marriage bust-up. I'd been married a long time, and I knew that was over, and I was trying to navigate my way out of that with the minimum amount of pain, which was unsuccessful. But
because the kids are involved as well.
Kids, yeah.
Which is the hardest part.
The hardest part. Yeah, I'm blessed with the greatest kids on the planet, and they are. And everybody says that about them, and I know that. And I would pass a lie detector test. I know my kids are the greatest kids on the planet, and there's and this in a way records forever what happens. And when they're adults, which they nearly are, they can hear what their old man did and might understand. They'll be in a position to think freely and to understand why things happened like they did. So, yeah, so my personal life, the shooting made things very clear that I would not be disrespected anymore. I would not allow myself to be bullied in any way.
Line in the sand.
A line in the sand now. And I realised that if I wanted to be happy in my life, it would mean I had to move on. And I did. I moved. I became homeless. I became homeless for a lot longer than people realise.
And you're still in the cops?
I'm still in the cops. I'm still turning up to duty to work.
What were you doing, living in your car or something?
I lived in my car.
No one knew?
Well, a detective sergeant mate of mine from Grafton, he saw me one day going into work when I wasn't working, having a shower. And he just gave me that knowing look, and I knew. And I've since discovered that he went and did a lot of work behind my back, helping me, making sure that I was all right. So, and one night I was sleeping in my car, and I saw his headlights, and it was the police truck, and I felt so bad because not that I'd been found sleeping in my car, I didn't care, but I could see in their faces how upset they were. They said, "Oh, we saw your car, Sergeant. We thought someone had pinched it and parked it down here," and they could see that I was living in my car, and I got upset because of how upset they were for me because they respected me. They didn't want to see their sergeant living like that, and it's really the darkest point in your life, without doubt. Now it's but when I moved out and I made a phone call to a childhood friend who's in the police and he was a detective at Grafton. I made one phone call to him. I remember making the phone call with tears in my eyes saying, I need help. I need help. And from that point on, my life has just kicked goal after goal. There's one man who has his own burdens and has one of the finest humans, fathers, policemen you will ever meet. And he saved my life. He gave me a room. He gave me a car because the car that I was living in wasn't mine. So I had nothing. I left a marriage with zero and had nothing. And then I arrived at his house. He tells the story with a backpack on and a washing basket with some clothes and some things that I had with me. That was it. And he gave me a car and he gave me somewhere to live. And he gave me light that you're going to get through this. And from that moment on, my life became more purposeful and worth fighting for.
Just taking it back, mate. Now, reading over your bio, there was a time where obviously you had these suicidal thoughts as well.
Yeah.
Mate, and you were about to pull the pin.
Yeah.
Mate, where's this?
This is just prior to when
What year were you talking as well, sorry?
Brett, 2018,
So
2019, just after the
recent.
shooting.
This is recent.
Yeah, all recent. I knew what the end of my marriage would result in. I was acutely aware I knew I would suffer severely with the children.
Was that the contributing factor, like the main contributing factor?
To what?
In regards to the PTSD, obviously you got the incidents that you've been involved in over the years as 20-something plus years at that point, but the marriage breakdown and obviously losing your kids.
And then we started COVID as well.
Fuck.
It was just a perfect storm.
Exactly.
It was a perfect storm. And, it caused me, because I knew what it meant. Other people said it won't be that bad. I knew without any doubt I would be really suffering being away from my kids. But I thought, well, this is the time. And I remember I was really sick. I was as sick as I'd ever been, and I didn't think I was strong enough to live without my kids. And I saw them go to school one day. This is how unwell I was. And I saw them go to school one morning, and I was home by myself, and I had a really, really extra long extension cord, 100-metre extension cord in the shed. And I'd already picked out the jacaranda tree I was going to hang myself in, and it was next to the house. And Grafton's a jacaranda city. It's what it's known as, and they have the Jacaranda Festival where everything's purple. And this long extension cord was purple. And I was thinking to myself, how good's this? Like I'm actually using a purple cord in a purple tree. And that's how sick I was. And I tied, I was about to, and I got the ladder out and I was going to hang myself from the tree. And I was upset and I knew how much I was going to miss the kids, and then I was thinking about the stigma that my kids would have to grow up with because Dad had topped himself. And I was happy to go. I was more than happy to check out. But the only thing that stopped me was that stigma that I wouldn't see my kids again, and that my kids would have to grow up knowing that their dad did it. And I thought, I'll just do it. I might as well do it. It felt like a good thing to do. I was at the lowest. I had nothing to live for. I had the noose tied around my neck, and then I got tired. True, I got tired. And I went, I can always do it later. And I laid on the outside veranda of my home with the noose around my neck, and I fell asleep, and I woke up and I didn't do it. And I just put the ladder away and the extension cord away, and I thought, no, you don't have to. I'll keep battling on, see how I go. And thank God I didn't do it, because it would have been a coward act, an absolute coward. And those poor police that would have had to come, that would have known me, would have come and get me. It would have been my mates, mate. And
which has happened
hundreds of times.
Yeah, it's happened before, multiple times.
And thank God I didn't do that to anybody and to myself, because I am now living a life full of laughter, mate, full of love, full of. I only associate with great people and inspirational people. Like, my life's now really, really different, but I'm really happy. And people, and I know I'll never do that. I will never, ever get unwell like that ever again, ever. And it feels great. It feels great to be well again. It feels really good.
No one knew. You didn't speak to no one.
No, not people knew I was struggling, and people knew
you were struggling.
Not that.
Did anyone come up and talk to you?
Yeah.
Try?
Yeah, mates do. Mates have. And Doug, who's my friend who I reached out for, I knew him from school. He was actually my older brother's best mate. And he had nothing to give but gave everything he had to me. You get to see these people that have nothing to give or give the most, and people that have the most, when they could be helping you, give you nothing. And you get to see the character of people, and you get to see truly the spirit of human beings. And I only now associate with human beings that have that same feelings that I do. I had to get out of the police, 100%. I'd done too long. And being out of the police is the only way I was going to start getting better. And I nearly did from the day I stopped staying awake all night. Like I said to you before, I spent half of my adult life awake at night. You do 2 nights, and everyone else is asleep, and you just live your life. And the older you get, the harder it is to live at night time, because then you try to live a life like everyone else, and then you exist on no sleep, and you end up, if you want to do any training to get fit, you have to do it at 4 a.m. or something. It was just very, very hard. Now my life's really simple and regimented. Well, not regimented, but just structured, and it allows me to, for how horrible I was and how sick I was, I am lucky, because not many blokes get to be 49 and get to have a reset, and that's how it is. I got to work on myself as a person for the first time in my life, and as selfish as it sounds, I made myself a priority for the first time ever. I'd never been a priority in anyone's life, including my own, ever.
Yeah.
So out of that absolute tragedy, and now how sick I was to how I'm going now, it's great.
Total change.
But I had to stop working. I had to stop being exposed to that trauma.
In regard to that, the time frame from you understanding that you are sick,
yep,
to the time you reach out to the police and say, I'm fucking crook.
Yep.
I'm done. I'm crook. I'm done. I need help.
Yeah.
What's that time frame we talking?
Yeah,
Was it?
Yeah.
So you battled this for a good year by yourself.
And I was sick, but I did the really dumb things too. Although I wasn't suicidal at that point, I knew I was going to live. But I thought, well, I can't get any sicker, so I'd take on everything at work. If there was some horrible job, I'd just do it, because I didn't want anybody else that bucket wasn't quite as full as mine to do it. And I thought, you can't get any more full. So I'd risk-taking behaviour, and I'd expose myself to anything that was dangerous.
So you were almost doing what old mate did, was exposing yourself to risk.
Yeah.
Just going, fuck it, if I get killed then.
Yeah, it didn't matter. And I grew confident that I could hold my own too then. I thought, And I just thought, I'm protecting the guys and girls I'm working with by, there's a shit death message. I'll go do that. I don't want them to go do it because my bucket's full. And I hurt myself more and more and more. And your bucket can keep getting fuller and fuller.
Mm.
And I just have to, and I realised, and I had other health issues. Policing is a contact sport, and after 30 years I was tired. My knees have had it, and I've got to get surgery on my shoulder. But I also developed really bad disease in my eyes, and I went blind. Clinically blind. I had to have surgery on both my eyes, and that's terrifying. As I thought I was actually going blind. I had to go to Sydney, and then when I was recovering from that eye surgery, I just sat there one day. I thought, I can't go back. That's it. And I rang my boss, and she's always had my back. And from once then, I put my hand up. Nobody ever tried to change my mind. Nobody. Everybody supported me and made my exit as painless as possible. And I was really well supported from the commissioner to assistant commissioners and to probationary constables. Everybody wanted the best for me and for me to recover well. I never had that feeling like other police have that have been treated poorly, that they feel like that someone's trying to trip them up or pull their pants down and embarrass them or make life hard for them or dispute that they're suffering. That must have been the worst. Like if you're suffering and to have people doubt it would be really... I never had any of that. I had people that knew that I'd suffered and wanted good for me.
Just on that, I know that every police officer that's going through that issue go through different, as you said, there's people that basically get told, nah, fuck, keep working type thing or don't get the help. Do you think because you're involved in an officer shooting that maybe that's,
yep,
obviously that's...
It was another absolute great thing that came out of a horrible thing was the access I had to health professionals for the first time. I'd had, support along the way in the police and other things, but not that level of support with really quality psychs and welfare people and people. It gave, and then it gave me the tools that I could work on myself, and so there was good that come out of it. Like I did get access to those services that were great, but
what I'm trying to bring up is why does it take that much? Yeah. For the regular officer that hasn't been involved in any of that,
they deserve it as much as I did.
It doesn't matter what you've done; they should be. And this is only a couple of years ago. This is what I'm not understanding.
This is recent history. Yeah.
Why is there not a
I think they talk about our the hierarchy of the police. They used to talk about, and whether they still do, about supporting and that. I did for the shooting, but in hindsight, support was overwhelmingly lacking for years and years for police, and they just hung themselves in sheds or did things like that because they didn't have that support. So out of everything that went bad for me, there was still aspects of it that were beneficial and that helped me get ready to live this next part of my life.
Any not-for-profits come out of the woodworks? And no.
Zero.
No.
I remember sitting in my car once and I rang, this is no criticism, but I rang Lifeline a few times and they
called Lifeline and
they didn't answer. You know they don't answer. I rang them. I tried to ring them.
They didn't answer?
This isn't their fault. Yeah. It just rings out. It rang. And I thought, I'd never rung a
What
Lifeline.
do you mean it just rings out?
Isn't
the whole point of calling that as a 24-hour fucking hotline? You could talk to someone?
Oh, well, I tried to ring them. I remember where I was and I made a call and I was really upset and I couldn't get through to anyone. And I thought, wow, they must be terribly understaffed that phone calls can be missed. Like, doesn't that where resources should be put?
Fuck,
and stuff
I didn't
like
know
that.
That's
dangerous.
Yeah,
and they missed phone calls from me 100%.
Imagine how many people have killed themselves because they've just got
like if you were that mind frame, you're like, fuck it then. I'll kill myself if they're not going to help me. And I wasn't like that, but I wanted help. And then when I actually did get hold of somebody, it was an elderly gentleman I spoke to and he gave me some advice, but it was stuff I knew. I don't know what I expected him to do, but I realised my friends were going to get me out of this more than any non-for-profit.
Of course, mate. It's always the way.
Always.
It was any police options. I know for the military there's Overwatch, there's Soldier On, there's all these different not-for-profits that have these 24-hour hotlines you can call outside of Life of the Line, because these generally the people that answer the phone are going to be ex-military guys, so they kind of, you know what I mean? Was there any police style of that?
The police at the time, they had a EAP was called. It was services that you were able to contact, and they. I never did.
Are they connected with the police though?
They are connected with the police, because
they'd flag you straight away, which is I guess
that's the other thing. You can't go and tell people you were going to kill yourself.
No, exactly.
And I was never going to kill anybody else, or
I
was no danger to anybody. I was just unwell, but if I would have told me that, they would have taken your gun off you, and then you couldn't be an operational police officer, and then you might have gone downhill. So the people that needed to know knew how sick I was, but you end up getting through with your mates,
of course,
and your colleagues,
of course.
And I was lucky. I had a brilliant commissioner at the time, and it backed me on the day. Like many commissioners will wait until they hear the cops are right, they've done the right thing before they come out. The assistant commissioner came out the day, a couple of hours later, and backed me. He was from Newcastle. He's a great guy. And they backed me from the beginning, mate. And so I was lucky. Like not all cops get that. They get that. Oh, the police are going to look into this, and so there's a sound or an oversounding, like they've done something wrong. Like we're setting up a incident team to investigate why he was shot. And I think members of the public hear that and think, oh, they're investigating to see whether they're investigating to make sure you did it right, but it's not. Yeah, I don't know. I lost my place there, but I forgot where I was going with it.
No, you're right, mate.
First time, I was just waffling on.
Mate, it's just intriguing to me that
the welfare side.
Yeah, just because it's only so recent, I can't believe that there was no other. I can't believe that Lifeline didn't fucking answer to start off with.
I didn't know that. I honest to God, it was definitely Lifeline. I've 100%. It was Lifeline, and I'd made numerous calls, and some of them don't get answered. And then I thought, geez, how bad's that? But,
I'm going to look into that. That's
after we'll ring them, see if they answer.
Yeah,
because I didn't answer, and not that I was. I don't know what I was after. I just wanted to tell someone how sad I was and how much I was missing my kids.
It's just to talk to someone.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's best to. I know for a fact, like you'd be same as the military. Sometimes, obviously, you're embarrassed to talk to your mates because you don't want them to see that you feel weak, obviously.
Yep.
And you don't want to show that fucking weakness to your mates. So you want to call someone that has no idea, doesn't know
Anonymous,
you, but you just want to talk to someone.
Yep.
Which could save your life.
Yep. And I was pretty down for me to ring Lifeline. Like
as a current,
I would have thought I was the sort of person they wanted
police.
to,
you know
to talk
to.
Yeah.
How long were you homeless in your car for?
I'm not good. Months.
Months.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
No. Because
were you struggling with money as well?
Yeah.
But as a sergeant, you're not getting bad money, I suppose. Six figures.
You pay child support.
Yeah, that's a killer.
That's a killer. But
it's a rort of a system too. Don't get me started on that. Don't get me started on that, mate.
It's not fair.
Far out.
Fair.
It's not.
I
think Pauline Hanson's the only one
that doesn't. Yeah.
No, she's fighting on that.
Yeah, that doesn't agree with the others.
Yeah, exactly.
I was in my car longer than people did.
A few months living in your car. What type of? You're not talking about that car.
No. It wasn't my car. It was a car that had it in the family, and it was a Navara. And I remember I tried to reverse into some trees one night so I could just not get annoyed to sleep, and reversed, and I smashed the back canopy where all my stuff, all my 2 washing basket full of stuff I kept. So then I couldn't lock my car up anywhere because I'd smashed the back because I was trying to discreetly park somewhere. And when things are going not your way, things just compound. And little things like ruining your canopy, you just thought, oh, well, fuck it. Well, just one more thing, Now I can't lock my car anywhere or, with my stuff. But I still remember making that phone call to my mate, and my life changed from that point. From that point on, and if any one person can ever take anything out of my story, is that there are humans like Doug on the planet, and I've been blessed with plenty of them that will give you everything they have and will help you without question.
Reach out to your mates.
Yeah, you got to. And the cops and military have the best mates, so we should be.
Everyone, like, this is what I want, tip for young players out there that are going through the rough stages right now. You've got mates. Yeah. There's someone out there that cares for you. Everyone's got mates. Even fucking Osama bin Laden had mates, you know what I mean? Like, Hitler had fucking mates. You know what I mean? Like, everyone's got mates.
Yeah. And if you haven't, you want to have a look at yourself, mate. If you don't have a friend in the world, you want to have a look at yourself because there's probably a reason you don't have and you don't need a wide group of friends. I've got a core group, and then I'm quite a social person. I know a lot of people. But if you don't have any friends, people from your past want nothing to do with you.
You're probably a bad person, yeah.
You're a cock. You're a loser. And
you probably wouldn't be in the police either.
You would have been. Then you would have been someone
probably a career criminal or something.
Yeah, that you would have never fitted in.
Even they've got mates, career criminals.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And they've got camaraderie.
They do.
I'm sure they lean on each other. They would in jail, I suppose. I don't know.
Lean in each other.
I knew as soon as I said it. The other thing I wanted to mention with the inquest, when the inquest came on.
That's right, yep.
There was one other aspect that I think I would encourage anyone else that ever has a shooting inquest like mine to not allow. And that was, it was held in Grafton, which was really good for Grafton because it was a Grafton news story, and it happened into a Grafton person. Everybody in Grafton was invested in that thing, and it was good for that hearing to be had up, inquest to be had in Grafton. But that allowed his friends and family to attend, and he had not a single friend turn up to any day of the inquest. No one. All his mates, not one of them turned up. His long-suffering partner did every day, to her credit, and had dignity and strength, and but she was the only person that turned up. But during the inquest, when it came, the forensic guys give evidence first, and after a couple of days, it was time for me to give my evidence. But they had they put big photos of his face in big picture frames, and they put one on a chair directly in front of the witness box, and they put one on the bar table behind me, where the magistrate or the coroner sits. So I'm sitting in the witness box looking at him and him looking over my shoulder. And that was a request from the family because they wanted to do that. And I thought, well, what about my request? This guy tried to kill me, and now I'm giving expert...
You're not the offender.
No, and I'm looking over my shoulder, and it's a picture, but it's his face. And I'll never forget his face. And when I'm looking forward, what I should have done, I should have gone down and I should have knocked them both over and put pictures of my kids there.
Yeah.
That's what I should have done. I should have shown a bit of toughness and gone, no, I'm not sitting here having him staring at me. And it was I think it was done as an intimidating.
It is to try and
look at the life you took, and his life meant nothing to me. But to have, and it's not a criticism of the coroner, because she was a wonderful lady, like really smart and really, really good. But it was probably easy just to allow the family to do that rather than, But that's one aspect of the inquest that I thought was distasteful. Apart from that, actually giving evidence was easy because you just had to say what happened. And again, and there was a lot of different parties. Like the family have a barrister and the state have a barrister, and so you get multiple questions from multiple people. But I found when they were asking me, they would lead up to the shooting, and then they'd get all wish-washy, like they didn't want to hurt my feelings, and say, now we're going to get to the part. And I felt like saying, we're here for a reason. I can talk about shooting him. Like they thought I was going to get upset, or they didn't want to actually talk about the nitty-gritty. And the nitty-gritty is why you're at court, to work out why he was shot. But it's funny, they just, like I said, they don't show you footage of it because it's going to distress you. But I don't know, it's like they're reluctant to ask you what actually happened because they think you're going to flame out or something. The only reason I should have flamed out was having those photos there. And if anybody else had to give evidence like that, I would suggest that what purpose does it serve except to make me more uncomfortable and not give the best evidence then, So if anyone else ever has that again, I wouldn't cop it. I wouldn't cop that.
It's fucking odd.
Yeah, weird, odd more than anything.
There's a few odd things that obviously had happened, you know, get naked or half naked, start off with, and then now this stuff in the coroner's inquest.
His wife had a chat to me out the front, or his partner had a chat to me out the front of the court after it was over. And it was just her and I, no one else. It was just her and I. And it's a funny relationship because, you know, I'd killed a partner. And we just made a bit of small talk, and she had some stuff with her that she was waiting to get collected from somebody in a car. And like I said, I'll never apologise, but I said, oh, you did good. And she said to me, she goes, where's all his friends? None of them are here. She said, just me. And I said, yeah, I know. And we just made a little bit of small talk. And I said, oh, I'll tell you something funny about Hoppy that you mightn't know, is that he was the only bloke in Grafton, apart from my mate Doug, that went for the Canberra Raiders. And I'm a big Canberra Raiders man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love them.
Guess what?
Don't.
Yeah, they lost.
I thought you were going to say you were a supporter.
No, fucking I'm a mighty Brisbane Bronco.
We'll talk later. So I said to her, apart from him, like he always wore a Raiders hat in town and stuff. And I said to him, he was the only person in town that really went for the Raiders apart from me. That was the only thing I really knew about him. And she's looked at me, just so funny, she goes, oh, love, you should have told him, he wouldn't have gone you. How funny is that?
No way.
Yeah. What a weird, I was having this conversation with her and I was thinking, how weird is this? And I thought, I said, I think he would have gone me anyway, but isn't it funny how she...
I think she understands. Like
she understood, mate. She understood. And I see her and some days she'll call me names and some days she'll call me murder and another day she wishes me happy Christmas if it's Christmas time and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I don't expect her to see me and be overjoyed, but I don't expect her to see me and give it to me either, you know, which has happened. But it's a lot of odd things happen during, you know, an inquest or the investigation into it, and it's all life experience. And when I finally said to my boss, I've had enough, shooting someone dead wasn't on the bucket list, but I had achieved everything I wanted to in the police. I had done everything.
29 years.
29 years. Not anything that was worth experiencing. I was involved in the Olympics. I was at the Redfern riot in the day. I'd done a lot of high profile and I'd made a lot of I've helped a lot of good people over those periods, but it was just, I knew my time was up. 100% it was time to go.
Yeah, fuck.
And I'd done everything I wanted. And when I left under the best circumstances. Commissioners and assistant commissioners, really high-ranking police that and junior police that are more important. You know, they were all wish me the best, and I had a wonderful send off and just it was a really nice way to leave the police, and I'm glad I'm not starting again. But I would have done it all again. If I could go back and do it all again, I'd do it again because of the person it's made me. That's probably. But I'm glad to be out of it too. I'm really, really relieved not to be. I got up the other morning to go to the toilet in the middle of the night, and I thought, oh my God, I would have been going to work at this time.
Yeah.
Now I get up when the sun's up, and I can train every. I can go for a run. I can. I've got a partner that's supportive and that is loving and vibrant and wants to experience all that life has to give, and that only wants the best for me, and I can devote selfishly. It seems I think sometimes a bit selfish. I can play golf a couple of times a week. I can run as often as I want. That's a Bent Bridge Run Club in Grafton that I'm part of, and I can do some training, and that flows onto every other aspect of your life. Then if you're healthy, and then your mind's healthy, and everything is a lot easier. And not being at work, you truly can focus on yourself and have that reset so you're ready for the next chapter of your life. And some people, they just work up until retirement age, and then they get there and they think, fuck, they never worked on themselves during their life. They never had an opportunity to inwardly look or to live. And as bad and as unwell as I was, compared to how I am now, it was worth it. because of how healthy I am and how happy I am. Yeah, my life is complete, except I don't have my children in my life to the degree I want, and they're almost adults, and that will change.
Give it time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give it time.
Yeah.
Just in regards to the recovery, you've seen psychologists, etc., and psychiatrists, and do they put you on any medicines and stuff like that?
Yep, I had they played around with some medication to begin with, and now everything's plateaued out. I'm on a low-level antidepressant. That's it. I initially took things to stop nightmares. I was having nightmares and I was having trouble sleeping. So now the only really symptoms of the PTSD that I exhibit daily is I get hazy memory and I get lost in a track of my thoughts. And I don't have an appetite. I have very, very little appetite. But my sleep's good now. I sleep like a human because I go to bed at the same time every night and I wake up at the same time, which I reckon is just a bigger help than anything. No longer working shift work, and I'm active, so I'm tired when I go to bed at night. So I'm still on medication, but it's at the exact dose that works perfect for me and doesn't prohibit me from doing anything. And if I have to take one tablet once a day for the rest of my life, who cares?
So be it. If it's working.
If it's a placebo and it is working, no, good luck if it is. But I know it's working for me, and I don't need any other sort of medication. I hardly drink anymore. Like I probably have. I just don't have a strong appetite anymore. But even I can go a week, 2 weeks without having any alcohol. And alcohol used to.
Oh yeah,
it was a big part of policing. It was a big part of our culture from when I joined. I don't know whether it still is, but it was. But it's not. I hardly drink, and I spent last night with my brother, and we go out and we have 2 beers. Like that's
it. Yeah,
what grown-ups do. Yeah, it's good.
Getting old, mate.
Yeah,
no, I'm the same.
I'm 50 nearly.
Yeah. I spoke about it the other day. I don't know about you, mate, but I've switched over to AM channel on the radio now. Yeah, that's when I've realised I'm like, fuck, I'm getting old.
I can't listen to any radio, so I just got to listen to my own stuff. So I just have Metallica or
mate.
Life is too short to listen to shit music.
Yeah,
and music's massive. I have to have music everywhere I go. Music has to be playing.
Yeah, we'll touch on that, mate. Now, during these times, you were awarded the New South Wales Human Society Bronze Medal for Bravery. Yeah, yep. Was that for the shooting?
No, I had a Valor Commendation for the shooting. That was from a pursuit that a chick and I chased a stolen car in Sydney, and it incinerated as well. But we were able to extract that driver. A stolen car. He had his legs amputated. I remember that.
But he survived.
But her and I, the female police officer, and I tried to get him out. We both ended up in hospital with smoke inhalation. I had cuts in my eyes, and we actually saved a person's life. And that was, and that. So it took was one supervisor to put his hand up and say, "Oh, these people did." Because I've done other things like that where you don't get recognised. You always sort of get recognised in the police for things that you shouldn't have, and some of the great jobs you do don't. So that was good. And I had I also received a commissioner's commendation for that as well, which was it was on the Opera House steps, and the commissioner came and gave you the medal. It was really big, and the helicopters floating around the sky. And it was a really, really big thing. But since I got out of the police, I've gone onto Facebook now. He was one of the first people to get in contact with the old commissioner.
Oh yeah,
and I went, wow, that's cool. So
who's the old?
That was Moroney, Ken Moroney.
Oh, gotcha.
I knew Ken Moroney as a kid.
Yeah, right.
He knew my dad, so and he was a great leader in the police. But the commissioner at the time was Mick Fuller.
That's right. Yeah,
the shooting.
Yeah,
and he's one of the greatest blokes you'll ever meet. Just like sitting here talking to you, and down to earth, and real good bloke.
Yeah,
real big about support too.
Also, Valor Award for the shooting.
Yep. Yeah, And I look at it sometimes like, oh, they're rewarding me for saving my own skin. But I saw a lot of bravery that day. That the female senior constable, Amanda, she was, to see bravery like that, and I've been lucky to see bravery like it since from members of the team I work with. To be that close to it is it's amazing. But to be awarded for saving your own skin doesn't sit right. And they try to say, oh, well, you also protected other people there, because imagine what he would have done. Like, I was worried.
So you said there was a school down the road.
Yeah.
You know, imagine if that was a Monday or a Tuesday.
Yeah. Well, I was really worried because all these cars started stopping, and I thought he's going to commandeer a car. He's going to carjack somebody, and then he's going to be mobile with this thing, and it could have just been a nightmare. So I did really good that day, and I'm not naive not to realise, but whether it's a brave act or not, I don't know. I'm proud of myself that
the actions you take that day. Yeah.
To know that I ain't never getting pushed around or bullied in any capacity, and if your life's on the line, you were prepared to fight for it, and that's what I'm proud of myself. But whether that's heroic or brave, I don't know. I'm glad the outcome turned out like it did, and things like those awards. I've been really lucky. I've got awards and medals. There's only something to give your kids down the track. Like
it is, isn't it?
I don't have anything on a wall at home or any. Look at what.
I've got
the only thing that means nothing to me.
Yeah. This is my display right here. That's it. That's it. There's nothing.
I'll be taking the beret with me.
Yeah. You'll have to fight me for that one.
Yeah, okay. You'll win. Yeah, but that's it. It's more they're trinkets that you give to your kids, but they can be taken off you. But what they can't take off you is how you feel about yourself and how others feel about you, and that stuff is not worth. You can't put a price on how you're respected or how you're treated by other people or how you feel about yourself. That's my story. It's
fuck, mate. I just can't believe you lived in your car for 5, 6, 7 months.
Oh no, it would have been 4 months.
4
easily.
months.
Oh, maybe longer.
Doesn't matter what it is.
It actually could have been, like you said.
A police sergeant currently on the job. It's almost got my mind thinking how many cops are out there right now, or ambos or fireys that are in the same situation, or even just a general, any office worker or some civilian that's just living in their car and going through the same shit. You know, like it
was essential for me.
It's wild.
It was essential, but it was wild. It was horrible. I remember getting so hot sleeping in my car, before a shift or something. You were that hot at night because it was the summertime during some of it, and I'd wind the windows down to give myself a little bit of relief, and then you just get bitten by 5,000 mosquitoes.
Yeah.
And you just think, well, what's the better of two? And I set the car up like you'd have a part where I could, do stuff on my phone or stuff, and I had a part where I'd sleep, and I was happy. I was happy enough because I was making my own decisions, and I didn't know any better. I didn't know how bad I was, I guess. I didn't know how sick I was. But whatever I did, I'm just glad that I made that one phone call and that he answered, mate. Like we talk about Lifeline. This bloke answered, and he very well could have been busy, and I mightn't have ever had the guts to try to ring him again and say, mate, can I? And it was just funny. It was a matter of fact. He goes, he didn't want to know the details. He didn't want to know, this. He just, what have you got? And I said, I haven't got anything. He said, well, come around home now. I'll meet you there in 15 minutes. And I'll get there, and his wife's there, who I've known, the most beautiful lady you'd ever meet. She's there. Welcome home, son, she called me. Welcome home. And I was made to feel for the first time that I was part of a family that supporting me, that wanted the best for me. And it gave me a car, we call it the Bombador, the old Commodore, and it was falling to bits. And he didn't have to do that. He needed it. But he did that to support me. And if I could ever do that to someone else down the track,
doesn't take much, does it?
Yeah, but he says that, but I don't know. It's still big. It's still a big effort.
It is. Yeah, it is a big effort. But for a mate, if there's a mate struggling, like, mate, come stay.
Yeah. But and the other thing to show about his,
make sure you put the toilet seat down. Or his wife get angry.
Yeah. But another indication about his integrity, he didn't tell anyone, mate. He told people, keep an eye on Dale, make sure he kept his eye out for me, but he didn't go telling the bosses, oh, by the way, boss, you know, or he didn't tell anyone. He knew there's a level of shame in it and embarrassment. Like you said, I was a sergeant of police and I'd go around to my troops' places and they were all living in homes with their family and I'm in my car and they didn't know. And when he helped me, it was just a matter of fact for him. He's just, this is it and this is the way it's going to be from now on. And I think, wow, but he mightn't have answered that call and I mightn't have rung back. And I hate to think where I'd be now. I mightn't be, fair chance.
Fuck, that's wild.
Isn't it wild?
That's wild.
And there's a saying about Oscar Schindler, you know, if you save one life, you save the life eternal or something, the world eternal. And I said that to him. I got to have a talk like this, face to face. I said, you saved my life. And I think he realises. I honestly do think he realises. And I said, mate, not many people can say they've saved a life, and you have, mate. And I know he knows. I think deep down he knows. And his missus and his kids, the nicest kids you'd ever meet. You know, he's got his own hurdles in life and he put them aside to help me. That whole family did. And he goes for the Raiders too. Must be.
Far out, mate.
We stick together. I don't remember Ricky Stewart ringing me.
Yeah. Well, guess what? You're not watching no games this week.
Oh, no. My games are over, but we nearly got there. We nearly got there against the odds.
Yeah.
Nearly. Why do you go for Brisbane? You're not from up there.
Yeah, born and bred. Yeah, I was born and bred in Brisbane, mate.
I can handle that because I can't handle New South Wales people that go for Queensland.
There's a few of them here in Newcastle. I'm like, hey, where were you born? On Newcastle. What do you go for Queensland for? Or Brisbane?
I hate those people.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very good. But that's
your story.
That's my story, and I
it's wild, mate.
How long have we been talking for? A while?
2.5.
No.
Yeah, 2.5 hours.
1 o'clock.
Yeah, it's 29 years and 2.5 hours.
Bring me on for another one. I'll tell you a whole heap of funny stories because I got some funny ones that it wasn't all doom and gloom.
Yeah.
I hope it didn't come across that way, but
No, but that's what we want.
Yeah,
because
I know
again, mate, there's cops out there right now that are struggling. As you spoke about, there was a police officer that killed himself last week, and it's happening every couple of weeks. You know,
well, I've worked with blokes and you see blokes kill themselves, over relationship breakups or overwork and stuff, and just that suicide is a scourge, and it affects communities like nothing else. It's like a tornado, especially through regional towns like Grafton. Like Grafton has had a history of young or of youth suicide and stuff like that. And to see how it affects a community like Grafton, it is pure devastation. And I was going to do that to that town, and I'm dirty at myself. But I'm glad I didn't, and I didn't. But I know how bad that town would have reacted to that. And, if you can help somebody, I say with absolute confidence, I'll never be sick like that again. I won't ever allow myself to get sick like that again. And I'm not going to be exposed to this stuff. Realistically, the chances of me ever having to fight for my life again now, I'd like to think are pretty low. I live a very simple, calm, happy. And that's the other thing that I should have mentioned during the podcast is the humour gets you through. I don't know military.
Mate. It does, same thing.
I had
black humour.
We have a mutual friend that texted me after my shooting, and people might think it's very dark and in poor taste, but a few years prior he'd shot an offender dead as well. Similar sort of circumstances. And anyway, I look at my phone the next morning when you're getting bosses ringing you and all this, but your mates, you can trust your mates to send you what you want to get. And all I get is a text message off him saying, it's 15 all, your serve. Like you're scouting. Yeah. And I went, that's exactly what I need.
Exactly.
That's somebody that can take.
That's the black humour.
It's the black humour. And
Mick F said the same thing, mate. Like when he shot that bloke in 2012.
Yep.
Literally just shot the bloke through his hands.
Yep.
Oh, mate survives. The other team guy looks up in the turret and goes, mate, I'll take your locker.
Yeah, people are already looking.
Straight onto it.
I had another sergeant mate of mine. I look in my pigeonhole the next time when I finally get back to work, and there's all these Band-Aids covered in full of Band-Aids. I thought, oh, there's a prop joke here somewhere. I said, what's the game? He goes, oh, there for your trigger finger. He thought you might have worn it out, you know. You might need some Band-Aids for your trigger finger.
Oh, but that's the humour that keeps you going.
Oh, if blokes and girls didn't treat you like that,
that's it.
I wouldn't be able to handle it. I'd be sad. And that humour, I can't. I can say with my hand on my heart, I never went to any shift in the police that I did in the police where I didn't laugh for a good proportion of it. At a lot of people's expense a lot of the time, but 100%. If you can have a happy, funny outlook on life, you can really. I think it helps with tenacity. 100%.
Definitely. Now, mate, as we said, we've been speaking for a bit of time now, and it's been absolutely fucking amazing.
Yeah,
to have
really
you on
enjoyed
and
it.
share your story, because again, who knows who this could help? There could be
Well, I think who will hear it. I do. And
there's going to be a lot of people, a lot of cops on the ground that'll be hearing. You know, they listen to this in the police cars, which is yeah, mate, yeah, during taxpayers' times.
Should be listening to Metallica.
But yeah, mate, who knows?
I'm happy.
It might help someone.
And I will leave my details with you. And if anybody from my past or that I might be able to help, I'm not trying to take your job, but I'm all for helping cops with their welfare. So if anyone ever wants to contact me and have a chat, I'll give you my details and they can contact you.
Mate,
and especially if somebody's struggling in a rural area that might think, like, this guy's story sounds a bit like mine. Absolutely, contact me. You'll only ever get the truth, 100% truth, and you get my honest opinion. And there's light at the end of the tunnel. Life is good, and I've learnt how wonderful life is.
I've got one shot at it.
Yeah, is that a pun?
Yeah.
It's true. You get one shot at it. Now I've got the two best kids in the world. I've got a partner that I'm in love with, and that I'm supported by, and I've got a group of friends that all wish the best for Dallas. Why would I've got nothing to whinge about? I really don't, and I'm optimistic, and I'm really optimistic about the future now. I don't know. I might take your job. This is unreal.
Yeah.
Sit around telling more stories with blokes.
Yeah.
I love it.
It is good, mate.
It is good.
I fucking love it. I fucking love sharing these stories because it's just stuff we don't hear. You see all that rubbish on the fucking media, and
I'm still nervous that it's not a story, but everyone has a story, and I said to you,
it's a story.
It is a story. Yeah.
Fuck me.
I'm still coming to terms with the fact that, well, I'm not a big podcast listener. So I had a mate the other day explain to me about podcasts like listening to your mate to the pub. He said, but I want to be at the pub listening to these stories rather than listening on a podcast. And he said there's people, I'm interested to who it reaches. I really am. And if people find that, and I'm still curious why people find that so interesting, I guess it's a small percentage of the population probably do what I did, and maybe that makes people interested in your story. But my story is a lot more than the shooting. It's that building yourself back and being a good human being, and seeing the good in everything, and being the best you can be. Being a good human is what it's all about.
Exactly. Now, mate, a couple of final questions. You pretty much answered that first question a little bit there. But, mate, first question, what advice can you give to people just to keep on keeping on, complete any goal they set their mind to, and just to crush it in fucking life? And, again, mate, you went from, joining, going to the highs of policing, get involved in, a massive critical incident.
Yep.
And then fucking fell off the ladder and
fell off the perch, yeah.
Yeah.
It was, like I said before,
You
it was a perfect storm.
You fell asleep on the perch, actually.
I did. Well said. Suicide's so permanent. And like I said, the only reason I didn't go ahead and kill myself that day is I got tired. And I thought, I'm tired. I can do it later. I'll just go and sleep. If anyone's thinking of it, just do it later. Just get it in your head. You don't have to do it today. You don't have to. Call me and I'll just tell you that you don't have to. Reach out and tell somebody. And I'm luckier than other people because the people I reached out to had that quality of that they were strong enough to be able to identify and had the the guts to help me. But yeah, it's what a weird saying for a suicide. Just put it off. I'm not, just put it off for today. Just say, yeah, I'm tired today. You don't need to. I fell asleep with a noose around your neck. And I woke up and I didn't feel like doing it then. It lost the urgency had gone. And I don't know what suicide counsellors' advice is to people, but what a slogan. Don't do it. Just don't do suicide maybe, But when you're there, it's a very, very pretty option, very, very tempting option to stop how you're feeling. But that moment of pain is only temporary. And if you can get through it, and you can get through it, I can get through it. The benefits on the other side are magical. Truly, I'm not a spiritual person, but a real magic in life when you can look at it through a new set of lenses, new set of eyes, which is what I got. And after my eye operations, it was like that. It was like a reborn. I could see clearly for the first time in a long time. And
I think you're still blind because you follow the you follow the
green-eyed.
Raiders. You follow the Raiders.
Green-eyed. I asked him, green one's in, But I've actually got some ongoing problems with my eyes, but they assure me that I probably won't go blind again, so which is good.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to getting other injuries fixed up now. I've got some shoulder operations to have and knees and my back. It's a contact sport, and I honestly believe a lot of my physical injuries resulted from physically having to wear a gun every 12 hours a day,
Of
4
course,
days a week. It just lopsides your body, and my hips and stuff.
Sitting down.
They're heavy. They're heavy things. They're heavy. And sitting in office
Cars,
chairs and cars with a gun on for 12 hours a day. Definitely some of my spinal injuries and stuff are 100% from that. And then if you were in the police, and it is a contact sport, if you fight enough people over the period of time, your shoulders go and problems with my hands and knees and everything. I feel older than I am sometimes. Like,
I'm feeling it, mate. I'm feeling it. Far
creak.
out.
You can hear me walk. I crack.
Yeah.
Walk. But I'm lucky because none of my injuries have stopped me from keeping fit. I can still play sport. I play cricket.
Stay active.
I play golf and run. And I feel sorry for actually if you lost a leg or you couldn't do stuff. It'd be so. I'm the glass half full man. I always see the positive in it. So my injuries haven't stopped me from enjoying what I want to enjoy. But yeah, I wonder how sore I'll be when I'm 70 because I'm sore now. Like I really am.
Yeah, fuck, mate. I'm 39 with arthritis. You know what I mean? Around. Thanks, Defence Force.
Yeah. The gift that keeps on giving, aren't they? That should be their motto. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, nice, mate.
It's good.
Mate,
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, I've got a couple more questions.
Yeah.
No.
I don't like these rapid fire like the drip tray. Like there's Sam Pang has a drip tray thing where he asks rapid fire questions.
Mate, second question: what is the plans for the future? Now, so you completely just doing your own thing now, and
I'm financially. This whole saga has taught me is absolutely irrelevant. Money, physical things that you own mean zero.
Nothing.
But nothing is exactly the answer. For some people, it's very, very important. But I've realised that I was happy when I had nothing. And I don't need things to make me happy. But I'm now in a position where I'm financially stable now for the first time in a long time, and I don't think about my financial future because I can get by with lots or with nothing. It doesn't bother me. But it has allowed me to work on myself. I don't need to be looking at a job at all ever again if I don't want to. But I've been working. I've always had a good work ethic. I've been working hard since I was a kid, and I want to do something completely different. I want to do something creative or something artistic, nothing to do with law enforcement, nothing to do with trauma, nothing to do with conflict. Yeah, something where I've always loved drawing, painting, stuff like that. Just do something completely different. And now I'm in a position where if I want to study something like that, I can do it. I can honestly, the world's my oyster. And I don't know. I like to travel. I want to travel, and yeah, things are now. I've got my ducks in a row now, where everything has gone my way exactly. For once, have gone really, really well for me, and I'm really optimistic. So I don't know. I'm not going to do anything for a while. I'm just going to enjoy keeping fit, being healthy, seeing the world, and a real focus of mine is the reconnection with my kids. I said I don't have long now until they're legally adults, and then I'm really excited about that. I really am, and they're your focus. You know,
Exactly.
your kids, like wow, I'm blessed, so I can concentrate on that aspect of my life now. I don't, and I'm surprised at how much I've forgotten, like police wise. Like I could turn up today and still do my job, but all this policy and all this stuff, I've forgotten it now. I reckon I've forgotten more than I remember.
Oh, mate, yeah.
All the stuff that doesn't matter,
Washed.
I've now got an ability to just discard it, and it goes. So I think I'm filling that up with other things now that are creative and artistic, and I might work with disabilities, and and volunteering. I like helping people. I always have. So I'm lucky. I see it as I don't know what I'll do, but I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Come and work for you. You got jobs
Yeah,
going.
mate. Get your security license. Give you a job.
You imagine? I'd last one day.
Do you reckon being a Raiders supporter, contributed to your mental decline?
I hope Ricky Stewart's listening to this.
Mate, I saw him I was watching Foxtel the other week, and the camera panned around him, and he's like, fuck off.
I love how divisive he is, because if you're a Raider person, Ricky is like the Messiah. And I've met Ricky a few times. And my son got to meet Ricky, and but as an outsider and like a Parramatta fan, because he went to Parramatta and got left them, and they hate him, and people just have this hatred for Ricky Stewart. But when you're a Raider, like I said, he's like the Messiah.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody so competitive. Like he must be a really intense. I'd love to have a one-on-one chat to him. I hope he listens to yours.
He's a good coach. He's a good coach.
He's a winner.
He wears his heart on his sleeve.
Yeah.
Like he's fucking.
Well, he made that decision, and it's true leadership. About he wanted his captain to have a home 300 game, so he didn't pick him, and it was a gamble. I think then they still won that game, but the way he addressed the media, going, "Yous are all into me, but none of you guys have any idea about leadership." And I thought, I think he does. I think he knows leadership. And I don't know, Ricky, if you're listening, you got a spot at the radio, you want me to come down and do some motivational speaking for the boys?
Yeah.
I'd love to get down there. But, they'll always be my team. I want to get a tattoo, actually.
Oh, yeah?
I haven't got a Raiders tattoo.
I'm going to get a Broncos tattoo.
Oh, get it early.
I'm going to get Premiers 2023.
I saw some AFL bloke did that this year already. I don't follow AFL, but he had Carlton or something.
Yeah, I've got tickets to the grand final.
AFL?
Yeah, no, fuck the AFL.
I was going to say, what are you talking about?
GAFL.
So you're going to... I can't follow.
I can't. I don't mind it because the Brisbane Lions are up there. They're up there, but I won't watch it.
I haven't got a team. I'll probably go for Sydney, but I don't follow it. But you're that confident. Because I went to last year's grand final. I went to Parramatta.
I went to the 2006 Broncos Melbourne Storm grand final.
Oh, did you? I took my son to the 2015. He's a Cowboy.
Oh, fuck.
So we were there.
Don't get me started, mate. If there was any night I was going to neck up, it was that night.
Oh, well, I was sitting next to
last
some...
5 fucking seconds.
Sitting next to some... Oh, that was...
Oh.
I was actually there with my... And I remember my son, he was only little. He stood on the seat next to me when Thurston kicked that thing, and he was looking in my face, and I'll never forget it. And he's screaming, "Dad!" But I couldn't hear him. I could not hear a thing. And I just see his little face lit up when his man kicked the goal.
Yeah.
I said, you can live to be 100 and never see your team do that again, and you are here. So, there's something about it. But I think Brisbane will be there. And if it's Brisbane and Panthers, I think you'll get it.
Yeah.
I hope you do.
Yeah, mate. Well, this podcast will be out way before then. So
well, I was going to when's it go out? Do you edit it? Do you have
Yeah, mate. This could be out ASAP. I'll talk to you straight after.
I thought we were live. We were just...
No, yeah. Mates,
You go back and you edit stuff like that?
Yeah.
Is that what you do? Okay.
Yeah. Not really. I don't take out anything. It's
I didn't mean edit, but yeah.
Just change the sound.
Did you have breaks in it?
Yeah, it was a couple of breaks and me coughing or sneezing and stuff or whatever and phone going off. I'll get rid of that type of stuff.
Oh, it's interesting. It is interesting. What else you got for me?
Mate, third question.
Yeah.
Tell us something about you that people don't know, like a guilty obsession. As you spoke about music is a big thing, part of your life now. So
massive.
But I'm sure there's a guilty obsession out there.
No.
You've been a police officer. Donuts? No.
Nah, I never was into that.
Macca's. I'm a big KFC, like fast foods.
I haven't got no appetite anymore.
I'll rob a bank for fucking free McDonald's for the rest of the year.
I wouldn't like to feed you.
Normally costs about $40 at Macca's, do. I'll buy a family feast at KFC for myself.
What do you want in it?
About $1.23.
Oh, it used
24,
to be.
Yeah.
It used to be.
I know, that's what I was seeing all the photos.
Yep.
And I'm like, he's a.
Well, I'm 85. I'm floating now between 85 and 90. I was 84 at the academy. So I found how life is easier when you're light for me because I was always big.
Way easier.
Easier and
better
easier
on your body
training.
as well,
And easier, that's what I mean.
Breathing.
You know, buying clothes. I still catch myself out. I still go to the shops and buy 2XL shirts.
Oh, dear.
But I only need a large.
Like a 90 now.
Yeah. I'm a little stick man. But yeah, life's easier. The lighter you are, just health-wise, I find it a heap better. But I didn't have any real guilty pleasures. I'll tell you the guilty pleasure I have, and people do know, I love ironing. I'll see a big pile of ironing and I'll push people out of the way to get to it.
Starch.
I love it, and I've set it up like a station, and I set it up in front of the music TV, so you can listen to it. But the bigger the pile of lining, the better. I love it. What a loser.
Your missus listening? She's like, bullshit.
She'll back me. I even want her to hang it up, and I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, right. Ironing.
That's the only thing I'm admitting to.
Yeah. I'll have to start a dry cleaning business.
Maybe I can do it for a living. $1 a garment. $10 a shirt or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
Ironing. And mate, I guess I'll throw in a fourth question. I've been asking this one a fair bit lately.
Mm.
Favorite cop movie or TV show?
Oh, I know a female actor in particular that was in Cop It Sweet. Remember that? There was I'll send out my wishes to her. But I'm not a big cop movie. I love that Heat. Remember that movie Heat?
That's classic.
That was a good shooting scene like that.
Classic.
I think they used an inspiration from that LA shooting from those blokes for that scene. That was really. I like a scary movie. Like I like the Conjuring and stuff like that. I like a good ghost story. I like that. But I'm so cliched because your favourite movie, The Shawshank Redemption. I love that Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, that's a classic.
It was that come out. And
so not really any cop movies.
No, I don't follow any cop show. I don't watch any
Police Academy.
Oh, I like those
classics,
movies, don't you? Because of how funny they are. But I don't watch any of those shows on TV. Although I know a girl that recently was on the Police Rescue Squad, so I watched that a little bit. But I don't watch much of it. But the Police Academy. Die Hard movies are always good. Like I like a good action film, but I probably prefer a war movie than a police story.
Yeah, because the army's better.
So they say. So they say. I don't have an opinion on army. My man was a proud army man, but there's definitely a kindred spirit between the emergency services and military to a degree. You do a very, very very special job and
very special human beings.
Yeah,
I can tell you that for
rare.
I was only with obviously Jughead and Mitch Parker the other day, and I was telling them stories of stuff that happened at the booth, and they're like, "Who are you animals?"
People think you make it up. Like I look at some people and they have that look and they think I'm making this shit up, but this is actually true.
He put a sausage up his bum and then ate it.
Of course.
Of course he did. And then wagged around like a dog.
Yeah, that's what they do.
That's exactly what he did in front of us, nude.
I used to have a sergeant that used to have twin propellers tattooed on his arse. On both arse cheeks he had propellers because he was a submariner. And during the night shift he'd just drop his pants and walk around making submarine noises. You can't make that shit up. He was an old Vietnam vet.
Yeah, he couldn't do that these days, yeah.
Props tattooed on his arse cheeks. He's one of a million funny
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah, right, mate. Now, actually, one last one. We spoke about music.
Yep.
You like your Metallica.
Yeah,
you
I like
always listen to music. I'm
Always.
the same, mate. I'm going to hit the gym straight after this. And
Yep.
however, my listeners know for me when I go to the gym,
What
I've
is
got
it?
chest day today.
Okay.
Mariah Carey.
Oh, shit. What
Yeah.
a chest. What a chest.
Yeah, she's got it. Yeah, that's probably why I
I
listen
thought
to her.
that's why
actually.
you did.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I can't listen to anything else but Mariah or Whitney Houston on a.
Why?
I don't know. I guess I'm a bit of a wild card. If I listen to fucking Korn or something heavy, I'll probably go start fucking
I find it
stomping
relaxes
people
me.
with dumbbells.
But the other thing, my missus has realised, like she's learnt. I made her learn that Metallica is good. Now she has an appreciation. She goes, I thought they were just about yelling and screaming. She goes, lyrically and
yeah.
musically, they are 10 out of 10. They're a great band.
They only toured last year.
They're touring now in the States. They've got
That's right. I got cancelled last year or the year before COVID.
I saw them once. They're excellent.
The scam of the century.
Wasn't it? Well played, government.
Well played. You're all going to die.
Here's a screen. Now pass me stuff under a screen.
Oh.
We're crazy
There's
times.
people
eh?
still wear a mask. I'm like,
And I was at my height
don't do
of
it.
craziness during that
Yeah.
COVID thing, and I was thinking the world was coming to an end. I'm
it was.
thinking this is
It was,
mad.
yeah.
It's good to be back
Poor
to
old
normal.
Victoria. They lost
The
plot
most
down
shut
there.
down state in the planet, I think.
on the planet. Oh, Dan
But they're only
Andrews.
Mexicans, though. I haven't got a.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of
No.
sympathy for them.
Fuck the storm.
Oh,
Yeah, no.
fuck 'em.
Bring them on.
Yeah, you'll do.
We flogged them. Oh, we did.
No, Pappy.
Yeah, fuck, poor bastard. Poor
Yeah,
bastard.
he seems like a good human being, actually.
Yeah, just one of those unlucky ones that just forever injured.
Chalky. Breaks.
Yeah. Fuck. Do you reckon they got that dark? Yeah, surely they do.
What? Oh, surely.
I don't
they
know.
do.
They're a
I
bit.
don't know.
These kids these days, mate, they're a bit sensitive.
Yeah.
I
I think if I joined the cops now, if I had gone back and I was just joining now, and police back then would have had mobile phones like the kids do now,
Yeah.
it wouldn't have lasted 12 months.
No.
You know, I feel really sorry, genuine, and footy players and anybody that's in a public eye now, yourself included. You got to be
Mate,
careful.
security, mate.
There are people waiting for one to catch you out doing one
I
thing.
used to flog people back in the day.
Yeah.
And no repercussions because you knew there was no cameras.
Yeah.
If there was a camera, it was probably fake anyway. Fake.
It's
yeah.
been cut. But yeah, I feel really sorry for, or
Yeah.
what seems to be happening is people going back in their past and digging up. Oh, what about the podcast you did 4 years ago where you said this, you maggot? Yeah. You're being held accountable for something you might have done years ago.
Yeah.
And that, as a society, that can't continue.
No.
Surely
No.
we're not going down that rabbit hole, because that is a horrible.
Oh, it's
Horrible
never ending,
state
mate.
of play,
And
if
all
that's the way it is.
protesters and all that type of shit.
And one thing about the military, everyone has an opinion on, and same as policing, everyone has an opinion on how the police should police, and I get that. And you've still got people from different generations that expect their police to give people a boot up the arse and smack around the ears. But police get charged for doing that now.
I know.
can't-
Which is
You can't have. Yeah, there's got to be a balance.
there
There's
is.
got- there-
Mate,
there
I've
has to be a
spoken about
balance.
this on a podcast before. I remember riding my push bike. I would have been maybe 8 or 9. No helmet on.
Oh yeah,
Cop pulled me over.
yep.
The local police sergeant pulled me over, and he pretty much gave me a backhand
Yeah,
because I gave him a bit of chip. I'm like,
Really?
I'm not putting a helmet on. Fucking busker.
Wow. Yeah.
Drove back to Dad, and he did the same. He took me.
A
in
lot
the
of people have that
put me in the
experience.
police car and took me back. This is probably early 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then Dad flogged me as well.
Yeah, well, that's what happened.
Double flogging.
But now, if the police try to do that, they'd take the kid back, and then the father would punch hell out of the cops.
I think they've seen videos of this happening. Yeah, they've tried to discipline a kid, and the parents are blowing up the police. I'm like, just stole something.
Yeah,
How are you going to teach this kid?
yeah. We've gone backwards as a society, and I'm an optimist, so I hope one day it returns. But for effective policing to make a real difference, sometimes it's hands on, and sometimes it's not pretty to watch. But some men and women in our society only respond to extreme acts of violence against them. That's the only way they know. And as prehistoric as that sounds, that is the only way some men and women know how can be managed through extreme violence.
Exactly.
And I always want there to be police that are prepared to do that.
Yeah.
And I hope that they're not scared not to do it. Like I'd hate some policeman to get or police
That's
woman
that's what I'm worried about.
to get hurt because I think of that tasering of the elderly lady. You know, and police now to be reluctant to use their arms and
But
appointments.
what's your thought? So just quickly, what's your thoughts on that?
I've got an opinion, and I've always held an opinion that I don't like publicly saying anything about policing unless you were there because
Of course.
it doesn't sit right with me. I don't understand how that ever happened.
No.
And
no.
And personalities out. I don't know anything about it. Horrible story.
Yeah.
Horrible story, and I don't understand how that ever happened. And I will
that
never be able to understand in my head.
Outside of the
why that
incident, is that a lack of ongoing training? Is that a lack of?
I think it's a recruiting issue. I think that,
And this is what Jason Semple spoke about.
Did he?
This is what happens this is what happens when you don't pay police to join the academy.
exactly. It
Your
stops
gene pool is
academics then.
smaller.
Well, it's reduced to people with an academic background, which are absolutely vital. But you also need that woman
That
or
bricklayer
man that has
been working for 30 years or 20 years.
or good
Life
5, 10
experience.
years. And they come in at nice
Yeah.
25 years old with an established family, but they can't leave their family for it's a 12-month program now, for 12 months and not pay the bills. So the police don't get those people that are brilliant communicators. They've been in pub fights. You know, they've seen angry men and women. They know. For some 19-year-old kid who's never been in a schoolyard fight, to a test from the police academy now, they're fighting bikies the next week in Liverpool or somewhere. Oh my God, what a eye opener it must be for them. They must be overwhelmed. But you give that to a bloke or a girl that's had a labouring job or a teaching job or any job, they can communicate. They learn that straight away, and they're the people. They make the best police.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly, and that's exactly what you want.
I don't have any faith in the recruiting process, although some of the new ones that I have seen, that they're keeping the tradition alive.
Oh, there's a couple of great young cops out there.
But
I've met a few here in Newcastle, great young cops. You know, they're willing and wanting to learn, hearing the podcast, they're doing extra training.
Yeah, good.
Loving it.
I've
But then
always
there's
said-
some, I'm like, I look at them and I'm like, fuck, if I was in a
Horrible, mate.
shop and someone's trying to hack us all
embarrassed.
up and you're here to save me, I'm like, fuck,
I'm
just
embarrassed.
kill me now.
I've always said that the police is a magnified version of society in that it's just like if you're a cockhead in the police, you're a grade cockhead. But if you're a good bloke in the cops, you are going to be, or a good girl, you are a champion. That it doesn't seem to, they attract the very best, but then the very worst as well.
Exactly.
And the only thing about the cops that they used to identify losers and people that weren't cut out for it. But now they promote.
Yeah, well, they identify as other things now. That's
What
one
a
thing.
weird
That's
times.
one thing I hate about the police. Like I'm a massive supporter of the police.
Yep.
We can't live a world without police. That's just proven fact. But this political alignedness
gone
with them, when
silly.
they're aligning with political views and factions or whatever communities are out there, they should be impartial. They should be apolitical.
Absolutely.
Like what I really like about the army right now, they're not really. In a way, not bowing down to, especially the Australian
political
Army itself.
correctness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know there's some starting to creep in on the officer side of thing, of course. No surprise there.
Yeah.
But, a lot of the battalions are pretty much operating as they fucking should, trained to fucking kill. That's what you need to do.
That's what we need them for.
Exactly. But the police, I know that, they just stay in the middle.
Well, they seem
You
focused
are meant to be in the
on
middle.
really minority groups, like it's not a homosexuality thing. Like I've worked with the greatest gay people you will ever work with, and they've always been in the police. But I'm talking about the real minority groups now that want to have a voice, and that we seem to cow down to, and accommodate them. And in reality, we should just be impartial. It don't matter if you're trans, gay, anything. If you're a good worker,
best person for the job. Best
thing.
person for the job.
And surely
That's
we're not in a society where I've got a gay brother, not my older brother, my younger brother. Like,
Oh, yeah, my older brother.
Is he?
Might have hooked him up.
oh, fuck. My younger brother, I don't know where he is, but My older brother wouldn't be a very attractive option for anyone. I don't know how he got his missus, but she's a good sort. But why are we still talking about things like that? But I get angry when I see the police aligning themselves with these.
I do,
like radicals, and thinking, wow, we should be representing everyone. And the only people that I genuinely have a hatred for and that I like ticking on are bullies. And I don't care whether you're black, white, criminals. Yeah, these scumbag bullies that bash their missus or pick on people that are less, or take advantage of people when they're at their lowest. And they from all creed. That's not a race issue. That's not a generation issue. That's not a a nationality or from where you are in the world. That's just a human being. If you're a fucking asshole.
Sounds like the government.
Doesn't it? Well, you're going to start me on the voice now. We're feeling myself rising again.
Yeah. There's so many things, mate. But that's the world. Fuck, we've gone well off track.
We went from Ricky Stewart to world domination.
World politics.
Yeah. But it's been good. I have 100% got something out of it.
Good.
I was apprehensive. No, I was just a little bit nervous about.
Yeah.
My fear was that I wasn't worthy to be here, or that I'd come across as some bloke know-it-all that you did it all a while ago, and nothing worse than a has-been ex, And I didn't want to sound like somebody that wanted to turn up and tell a war story, and it doesn't feel like that.
But you didn't know. You didn't know.
That's why I'm
just shared your life story.
But you got to take a risk to come out of your comfort zone to realise that there was nothing to be scared about. And I actually feel good that I've done it. I'm really glad with how it went. It wasn't anywhere near the experience I thought it was going to be. So it's just another example is if you push yourself or take yourself out of your boundaries and experience something else, you grow from it.
Exactly, mate.
100%.
Exactly.
And, mate, I know how popular you are. I've got friends that have man crushes on you, and you are doing a great work.
I appreciate it.
And 100%, I know that you're doing good stuff. And for what it's worth, I wouldn't have come down and seen anybody else but you.
No, I appreciate it, mate.
Thanks,
really mate, one question. Where did you get a fucking purple extension cord from? I've never seen one in my life.
It was in my shed. It was massive purple.
Where'd you buy it from?
I don't know. I lost it. I haven't got it anymore.
I've never seen a purple.
I got a tattoo of a noose.
Oh yeah.
Afterwards, symbolic. And I've got one arm of death and destruction, one arm peace and love. It's a bit of a mix up. But I said to my tattooist, I was thinking about getting just a big electrical cord, but it wouldn't have looked as cool as a. Yeah. No one gets an electrical cord tattooed
purple one too.
Yeah, purple one because he does colour. And only I would have ever got that, but I guess a noose can mean lots of things. So I just went for the old noose instead.
Yeah.
But I thought about getting that tattooed. I thought, but a purple 100-metre extension cord. I don't know where I got it from. I don't know.
Right. I've never seen one.
I don't ever want to see it again, actually. If I do, it'll only be. Mrs. won't let me near extension cords now while I'm setting up the iron.
You're banned. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
You're ironing again with that extension cord.
Mate, again, really appreciate you coming down, sharing your
heaps.
story, because it's been absolutely fucking a blast to share your story, mate. As again, we've got a couple of mutual friends that have spoken about you, and they've obviously spoken very highly about you.
Yep.
And I definitely wanted to have you down here just to share that story, and we made it happen eventually.
It's the beginning of a friendship. I really appreciate it, mate.
Yeah, fuck, anytime. Yeah, come down for a beer, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, mate.
My word, thank you.
I've got a room you can stay in, whatever reason.
My brother's Thornton.
Thornton, yeah. So there you go.
Not much of a drinker now, but I'll come in and have two with you.
Yeah, mate, I'm not either. I used to be a massive drinker as well. I love tequila. I'm a tequila and Scotch whiskey type thing. I love it. But, mate, just one or two a night now. Like, obviously, there's a bottle right there. And
okay, yeah, I like beer and red wine. I don't drink any. I wouldn't have touched red wine for 2 years. I just sometimes with a meal it'd be nice, but I just don't. And I have, I don't drink beer, but other than that, no spirits or anything. So I don't need it.
Yeah.
God, I'm completely mad on the spirits.
Yeah, fuck.
Yeah, no, I'll be back. You'll hear from me again.
Yeah, mate. One absolute last quick one. Did Jack Whiten fucking bite him or not?
No. Do you hear how quick I said no?
I know.
Actually, he's going to the bunnies.
He bit him. He bit him.
For his services, he did. For his
services
for Raiders, I'll say no. But, it doesn't look good.
No.
I let
He'll get a couple of week ban first next
remember
year.
Mullo that played for the Raiders. I let him off speeding one time at Kensington when he played for the Chooks. He was driving to Chooks training along a back street towards the training, and he was doing like 45 kilometres over the speed limit. He was doing 100 in a school zone or something, I don't know. And I pull him over, and it's Mullo's, and I ended up talking to him. I said, all right, well, this is for your services to the Raiders. How about you just head on down to the training and we won't think anything more about it. And he was so grateful because he would have lost his licence and all that. He was in a hunk of shit old Sigma or something. Anyway, he pulls out and he's going, he's yelling out to me, thanks, mate, I never wanted to leave the Raiders. I love the Raiders. I'm waving to him, let him off. So if I let him off, I can let Jack off.
Yeah, nah, he bit him. Guilty.
Yeah, but now old mate's trying to backtrack too, and you can't backtrack. You either got to say you did and go on with it, or not. But I don't think he'll be playing for a while.
No, and then old Val Holmes a couple of days ago.
That's just the epitome of silly, eh? And like I said, the social media, it could have been totally innocent. But if you do something like that now and you're in that position, you know that there's always some cockhead following them into the toilets to take photos, like the bubbler and all. It's always their mates, by the look of it, that are releasing it.
Yeah.
Like he would have known who took that photo. So one mate of his would have made some money.
But he uploaded it to his Instagram. That's the weird
stupid,
part.
Isn't it? Yeah.
So obviously,
unless it's totally innocent, I get that. But when you're in that position, you can't be that dumb. You're not allowed to be.
The NRL has set the precedence. Obviously the boys got busted a couple.
Munster, I think.
Yeah, they only got one game ban, so they now set the precedence.
Oh well, we're talking. Well,
you know what I mean? They've said now. Like, so Val Holmes is only going to get one game. Well, what more can he get?
I guess the best thing he could do is say, "Come and test me. I didn't do it. I just did something stupid. Someone had a bag."
Yeah. No, I was doing my washing. That was just a Tide Pod. I was just doing my washing. I was just having a vodka at the same time.
Yeah, that'd be
That's what they'll come out with. They've already come out and said it was a joke. They said, "Oh no, it was a joke."
Yeah,
like,
but he's got to be smart enough.
Like Kalen Ponga.
He's on a Well, he's on a
What he's doing there? Oh no, I was sick.
I got lost.
I got lost. Fuck, mate. We could go on forever.
Oh, we could.
Mate, again, appreciate you.
Thank you.
And we'll stay in contact.
Thanks heaps, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers.